Stop thinking, start doing.
If you take a man and give him a life shielded from problems and he never has any to face, I guarantee you he's terrible at being a man. The best men in the world have gone through shit. That's why women love scars, because it didn't kill you. That's the whole point of it, right? So the best thing you can do as a man is look and go, okay, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard. I feel negative because these are all so difficult. I'm struggling with X, Y, Z. Let me internalize all of that and turn it into a superpower. Let me become genuinely uncomfortable with my situation in life and go and fix things. Because, like I said, the universe is absolutely and utterly very giving. And if you truly hated being in the position you were in, you wouldn't be there.
I'm ready to kill. I don't do this. This is not sports for me. I don't enjoy it. I hate training. I hate fighting. This is war. I was born for this. I have no choice. I'm in there to kill. That's it. Pain. That's all I know.
If we were still in the animal kingdom, the lions that you see on TV, they weren't just born big lions. They had to fight other lions. They had to fight to get that antelope. They had to fight other animals, hyenas, jackals. They had to fight to be the boss. That's the world. The world has become exceptionally easy for a lot of men. It used to be a different place. Most men were cannon fodder. Most of us would have ended up in wars, dying for no reason.
Damn.
Now we don't have to do that. So because we don't have to do that, men think it's okay to just become comfortable now. You're not supposed to be comfortable. You were never evolved to be comfortable. You're supposed to be uncomfortable.
Right.
And if you make yourself uncomfortable constructively, it's very easy to be anything you want. We're living in a comfortable world now where people think, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But you know what? To some degree, it does matter. It does matter. And I'll tell you who it matters to. It matters to your soul and it matters to God.
I think we're here to struggle and to learn. I don't think we're here to be happy. That's why when we keep going back to the happy argument, I've always found that kind of frustrating and annoying. Yeah. When someone goes, oh, but I want to be happy. Why? I think we're here to struggle. I think we're here to endure pain.
Yeah.
I think we're here to just see how hard we are to kill. I think that going through terrible things and living through them and coming out the other side is one of the most fantastic things about being human. I think that it's almost like once you understand what life is really about, there's no emotion which isn't enjoyable. The only emotional state which can be seen as detrimental is feeling nothing at all. But if you're sitting at home and you're feeling truly heartbroken, at least you're feeling something, right? And I think that's the whole part of being human. I think we're here to struggle. I think we're here to go through pain. That's so I wake up each day and go, what can I attack? What problem can I solve? And look at history. Why did Genghis Khan wake up and want to conquer the whole world? Why did Napoleon conquer the world? Why did Alexander the Great conquer the world? You just wake up and just say, give me this, give me that. I want all of it. I need to, there's an army there. They're really big. We're better. It's intrinsic. Yeah. You need to go and conquer. That's the purpose of life.
I believe that, the most important thing you can do as a man is to gain control of your mind. Once you have control of your mind, life is so ridiculously easy. It's so ridiculously easy. It's so easy to be in. People say to me, Tate, you're in good shape, but all you do is drink vodka and travel the world. You're never even home. You never even have a gym. How do you do it? It's ridiculously easy if you control your mind. If I decide to do 1,000 push-ups, I'll do them. Maybe I have to do them one at a time. Maybe I'll get tired. Maybe I need a break. I'm going to do 1,000 because I said I'm going to do 1,000. It's not hard. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do. Once you control your mind, it's easy, right? Getting over a breakup with that bitch. You miss that girl, you're upset, you miss her with all your heart, But once you realize she's gone, if you control your mind, she's gone now. She's gone now, I'm gonna miss her. That's a shame. Off to the gym. You either control your mind or you don't. And all of these things stem from the same problem. It's something you can do. It's something that is learned. It's something that is taught. But it's something that I needed to survive. So for me, it's easy, right? It's all I've ever known. Right. But people have now, they don't need it to survive, so they never develop the skill. That's just how it works. At the end of World War II, when men went to Europe and saw unspeakable horrors at the end of World War II, did they all come home and need therapy, or did they all come home and get back to life?
Get back to life.
Because everyone was taught to have a mind that they control because they needed it to survive. There's no one else. That's how life worked back then. But this is it. But people are so scared of the emotions. That's all it is. No one's going to shoot them in the head. They're scared of the emotions of missing her. You're a full-grown man. You're scared of some emotions. Sit in bed and be sad and play your chess and go to the gym and be sad and lift your weights and be sad for a while and do your shit till you're not sad anymore. You're scared of emotions to the point you let a bitch run your life? It's insane. Conquest is all life's ever been for men. This is what men have an innate desire to to conquer. Even you care about having as many viewers as possible on your streams. You care about being as big as possible. You care about conquering. Why did the Romans wake up, melt rocks, make swords, and walk in random directions. They didn't have Google Maps. They didn't have a clue where they were going. Random directions to find some other group of people and come up and take their shit. Why? Conquest. This is a conquer. Why did Genghis Khan ride his ass from Mongolia all the way to Vienna? It's a long way. Why? Conquer. Men are born with this innate desire to conquer. It's inside of us. They're trying to suppress it. They're trying to distract it away from you, tell you that you're wrong. You're toxically masculine. You shouldn't want to conquer. You should want to sit at home and be tolerant. No, you shouldn't. You should want to conquer shit. Only thing that's going to make you intrinsically happy is conquest. Nothing else. If you're depressed, it's because you don't conquer shit. Conquer something. Get up and do it. It doesn't have to be a negative at all. You can do it in a very, very positive way. You can have a positive impact on the world. I like to think that my impact on the world's been positive. I've conquered the whole internet, and I've done it in a positive way. I'm helping the world. Maybe my enemies, maybe the Matrix doesn't like me, but there's young men who are watching every single one of my videos whose lives are changing. So conquest can be a very positive thing. So I'm here on the internet conquering the internet because I've decided to, because that's my hobby. Because I don't do anything degenerate. I don't take drugs. I don't gamble anymore. I used to gamble a bit, bored of it. Don't gamble. Don't take drugs. I drink sometimes, but it's really not a big deal for me. I don't like to drink too much. Pussy's great, but how much of it do you really need? I have enough. So what else is there to do? Drive cars and conquer the internet. There's nothing else to do. That's it. So my organization, the War Room, is already, I would vouch, as one of the top 5 most important and powerful organizations on the planet. Within 10 years, we will be the most powerful organization on the planet. I can't even tell you here in public that you will not believe the influence we have. You will not believe the organizations we have infiltrated. You would not believe it if I told you. I'm going to run the most powerful closed circuit organization on the planet. It's going to be mine, and I'm going to conquer Earth. And I'm going to have 20 sons from 10 supermodels, and I'm going to die. And there's going to be 20 Andrew Tates watching my old videos, continuing the legacy. This is what I'm going to do for my bloodline. I'm going to conquer Earth. Goals are something you put on the wall to motivate yourself, right?
Right.
Goals are motivating. So if you want to buy a car, you put the car on the wall and it motivates you to go to work to get the car. So that's a goal. Goals are for motivation. I don't work on motivation. I work on discipline. So I don't have a set goal. I just get up and do what I know I'm supposed to do. I don't work to try and afford that car. I work because I'm supposed to work. And then I can already afford that car and another one and another one and a boat and a plane and a house and another house and a land. And then I just work. I do my work. That is my duty as a man, is my duty to God. I train in the gym. It is my duty to God. I do my duties to God. I fulfill my duty. I'm an old school gentleman of honor and respect. I do what I'm supposed to do. I don't have any particular set goals. Anything I decide to do or want to do, I can do instantly. And if I can't do it instantly, I can do it pretty quickly. I don't need goals in that old traditional sense. I do what I'm supposed to do.
Wow.
It's not a matter of how I feel or how I'm motivated. If I was depressed, it's impossible, but if I was depressed, my life would be, and the day-to-day activities would be exactly the same as if I was ecstatically happy. You wouldn't be able to see a difference. I'd be up at the same time. I'd be in the gym the same. I'd be doing the same shit. Those are my duties my duties to God. How I feel has nothing to do with it. Completely unrelated. How I feel is unrelated to my duties to God. They don't change based on how I feel. They're the same. And they will be completed because I refuse to fail God or my bloodline.
That's amazing.
I'm telling you, there's how many people in this stream? 188,000, 168,000, whatever. You could take 150,000 of these people and travel back in time and stand them in front of their ancestors. And their ancestors who fought saber-toothed tigers or escaped the Mongol hordes or managed to dodge bombs in the Second World War. All the shit they went through just for this cretin to be born. And to look at him, look at who he is, listen to his life story, listen to what he does on a day-to-day basis, and they would feel nothing but shame. Your ancestors did all that shit, all that struggling to survive, hunting and gathering, avoiding enemies, anything it took, dying at age 30 from a tooth infection, all the crap they went through just for you to be born so you could smoke weed and jack off. That's what your ancestors died for. That's what they worked so hard for. That's who you are. That's the end of your bloodline. Do you feel no shame? It's shameful. My ancestors will look at me and think everything we went through was worth it. Your ancestors will look at most of these people, their ancestors look at them and feel nothing but disgust. It's true. It's disgusting. And they should look in the mirror, look deep in their own eyes and say, yes, I'm disgusting. I can change this. That's the beauty about being a man. If you're disgusting, you can change it. That's the beauty. There's nothing stopping you changing it.
You're right.
But you must accept it. You must accept it first. Most of these people, what they do is they hang around with other disgusting people, and then they're a little group of disgusting people, and they think, well, I'm not disgusting, everyone's disgusting, and this is normal, and it's normal to be a jerk off. Not in my world, it isn't. This is when I was making jokes earlier about predators and prey. In my world, I'm in a world of predators. It's not normal to be a jerk off in my world. As good as I am, I still push myself to the limit every single day. I have every single thing a man could possibly want. I'm still pushing myself. This is your prerogative as a man. But you need to be instilled with a sense of duty to your bloodline. You must want it. You need to want it deep inside your soul. I can't die as anything less than emperor. It's my destiny.
What do you think is the hardest challenge for the average man today?
That's a good question. It's a really good question. I think that a lot of people don't understand that it's all of the challenges and struggles that's going to make them, it's either going to make or break them. I don't read studies very often, but I was sent a study about stress from somebody. It's probably the best study I ever read. And it's talked about the placebo effect of stress. And it said that they took some of the most stressed people in the world, CEOs, etc. And the ones who believed that stress was really bad for them were dying earlier because of the cortisol inside of their blood. And they said stress was really bad for them, they were having heart attacks. But the ones who believed that stress was good for them and it made them perform, I perform under pressure, stress is good for me, they were living longer. So the same drug inside of their blood, how they framed it inside of their mind had different effects on their body. So from that point onwards, even though I already thought this way, I knew I was the right way. I knew it was the right way to think innately because I've done pretty good in life that way. But this confirmed it. Every time I feel stressed or under pressure, I get excited. I hate to not be stressed. I wake up and I'm like, everything's good. Yes. Like that's just how I am, right? But it's how you adopt, it's how you look at the problems and how you use them to fuel you. So the question was, what's the problem for the average man today? What's the biggest problem? I think there's a whole host of problems. But what you have to do is frame it inside of your mind and understand that all of those problems are going to allow you, give you the fuel, the unlimited motivation that you need to become a successful and beautiful individual if you frame it in the right way. If you take a man and give him a life shielded from problems and he never has any to face, I guarantee you he's terrible at being a man. The best men in the world have gone through shit. That's why women love scars, because it didn't kill you. That's the whole point of it, right? So the best thing you can do as a man is look and go, okay, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard. I feel negative because these are all so difficult. I'm struggling with X, Y, Z. Let me internalize all of that and turn it into a superpower. Let me become genuinely uncomfortable with my situation in life and go and fix things. Because like I said, the universe is absolutely and utterly very giving. And if you truly hated being in the position you were in, you wouldn't be there.
Well, emotions are feedback. The idea that men don't feel emotions is incorrect. We feel emotions. I would actually argue we feel emotions with certain emotions stronger than women. I would argue that we feel heartbreak stronger than women. I would argue we feel anger like a woman could never understand. I would argue we are extremely emotional. Rage, pure rage. It's feedback. So when you get the feedback, it's all about how you internalize that and how you process it, right? It's having, stoicism's not feeling emotions. It's feeling the emotion and going, okay, why is this happening? How much does this really matter? What's the most intelligent move on the chessboard? I'm not even that good at chess, right? My father was a grandmaster. I'm like 1800 elo. I'm okay. I was a child chess prodigy, but I stopped playing chess professionally when I was like 8. So I'm as good now as I was. In fact, I'm worse now than when I was 8. Because I've never taken any lessons or anything properly since. Because my mother and father broke up. We moved to England. My dad stayed in America. Lost my chess coach. And England didn't have a chess infrastructure. America had a chess infrastructure in the lower income schools. My dad used to go to the ghetto schools because he was black. Go to the black schools and teach them how to play chess. So we had a big infrastructure.
You peaked at 8.
I peaked at 8, yeah. But chess is a fantastic game because in the game of chess, there's no luck. If you lose, no matter how well you played, if you lose, at some point you made a mistake. Even if it's the most minor mistake, you made a mistake. So you learn to understand that no matter what happens to you, if you lose a scenario, you made a mistake. Maybe it's a tiny one. Maybe it was 2 years ago, whatever, but you made a mistake. And you learn absolute and utter accountability for yourself. And that mentality is extremely powerful to apply to all things in life. The position I'm in now as the most hated man in the world, although I agree and I truly believe it's unfair, I still take complete responsibility for. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm telling you why it happened when I talk about TikTok and YouTube shorts, but I'm not going to blame them. Absolutely. They're a company making money and they're monetizing the best they can. Fantastic. All of this is my fault. But the Bugatti on my drive is my fault. And the yacht is my fault. The private jet's my fault. So it's all my fault. So I take the good with the bad. I take all responsibility for absolutely everything, including if a woman leaves me, if a woman stays, if I end up heartbroken, if I end up filled with rage, I take responsibility for that. If something happens to me that makes me enraged, I will take responsibility. Why has this happened to me? Why do I feel this way? How did I end up in this position? Is this healthy in this scenario? And sometimes it is.
I've had scenarios in my life where I was prepared to die to protect somebody else, and I was enraged, and it was healthy. I've also had times where I'm in a room by myself, enraged, sitting there going, this is no good for anybody. I need to just calm them down. So emotions are feedback, but stoicism is the ability to process it. And that's what you need to learn as a man. You're never going to be able to turn them off. You're going to feel them. You have to learn how to process them and turn them into a positive. It's energy. It's unlimited energy. I say this all the time. I say that the biggest periods of transformation in my life is when everything was going wrong. When my life was going good, I'm not a hedonistic person. I don't do drugs. I don't gamble. I don't do prostitutes. I don't do anything that hedonistic. But I'll certainly go on the yacht with a bunch of women I know and chill and have some vodkas and that kind of thing. When life's smooth, then it's semi-hedonistic, pretty relaxed. But when I make my biggest progress, when I really change who I am and change the world, that's when when things go wrong, or I'm feeling things I don't want to feel, or bad things are happening, that's when I'm like, okay, I currently cannot sleep. I've completed the day's tasks. I've tried to go to bed. I can't sleep. More shit has to get done. That's when the amazing things happen in my life. When I was heartbroken, when I was whatever, everyone's been heartbroken. I can't remember a specific example. I hit the gym harder, right? If something goes wrong with your payment processor, that's when you get inventive. That's business, right? That's when you get inventive. So all the bad things that happen to you as a man, if you're stoic, you get to take unlimited energy. Heartbreak is unlimited energy. So is depression. So is rage. So is sadness. All these negative emotions they tell you to collapse behind. It's like, people talk like, Bruce Lee says, be like water. And people see that as be fluid and just go with the flow. I disagree. If you're like water, you're necessary for life. You are scary when you're enraged. You're powerful. You're beautiful when you're calm. You're so many things when you're like water, right? So if I'm enraged, it's like water behind a dam. You just got to put the dam in place, and you got to get the turbo, the hydroelectrics put in. Don't tsunami your life. Put the energy somewhere. And this is the most beautiful thing about it, because people message me all the time like, oh, but Tate, you don't know how sad I feel. No, incorrect. I know exactly how sad you feel. Difference is I used it. And you're sitting here still crying, some random guy on email for the third month in a row. That's the difference between you and me, my friend. I was becoming a world champion kickboxer. I got to a point, people often talk about depression and say I don't understand it. I will say, listen, there's been times in my life where I was fully functional as an adult. I would never label myself depressed because I don't believe in the idea of labeling myself in a negative, because I don't believe in things that take power from me, which we'll talk about in a second. But there's been times in my life where I didn't give a fuck if I lived or died. There's been times in my life where I went to fight a man for money, and I didn't give a shit if I lost and even woke up. Didn't give a fuck. I had nothing worth living for. I was brokey, didn't have a girlfriend, didn't have any money, got a 2-day call to fight some world champion, had to lose 10 kilos in 2 days, had nothing else going for me, got on a plane to Dagestan and won. There's been times I've done that. By all conventional wisdom, I was depressed. I was suicidal, but I was just like, no, I don't give a shit. And that's when I was at my most powerful. Now if I get that call, I'm like, bro, I got a new car outside and shit.
I'm not going to Dagestan, bro.
Going to where? Sorry, how much money? Nah. But back then I was like, yeah, cool. Who is he? Oh, this guy. All right, fine. I didn't give a. I was most powerful when I was sad, when I was depressed, when all these things. Mm-hmm. And the difference was the framing. I've always been rich, but I'm not just rich because of money. You have to understand, I'm rich because of a bunch of things that money cannot buy. Like, I know there's people with lots of money, but they don't have the network I have. They don't have the brotherhood I have. Just sitting with my boys, knowing that if it comes to, if the bullets start flying, me and my 10 friends, we all die, or no one dies. Having that brotherhood, having women who would literally, you could go to jail for 10 years and they would wait for you. They exist for you and only you, completely and utterly. You are their entire universe. Like having physicality, walking through the world bigger and stronger than everyone else, having all those professional fights, and all the bad things, having the trauma, all the pain, all the bullshit I've been through. You ain't a good man if you haven't had trauma. So I'm rich not because of money. I'm rich because I've been through a whole bunch of shit. Like, I don't see anyone else on the planet richer than me because they're either too old or their life's been too easy. Like, I've had a very, very unique life, very, very eclectic life. I was born with the best possible start a man can have, which is good parents and no money. I've made all of my money completely myself the hard way. If you see a Lamborghini pull up and a little nerd gets out, you think, oh, super tech nerd, probably invented Stripe or something, he's a nerd. Whereas if you see a Lambo pull up and a big, strong, bald, whatever crazy dude gets out, you think, okay, he's a drug dealer. He's a mafia boss. The Lambo doesn't change what you think. It amplifies who the person is. Money is an amplifier. It doesn't change. So I'm very fortunate. I'm very happy that I was poor for a long time, because I never would have been able to learn the lessons I've learned if I was rich. I wouldn't have never been able to take those risks. I would have never been able to be in those situations. I've been stabbed just like you. I'll show you my scar. So I would never have been able to been put through hell if I had money. So I'm very glad I was poor for a very long time. And the reason I'm the richest person on the planet is not because of the amount of money I have. It's because of all the shit that happened to me when I was poor. And I state that without arrogance. I don't mean to be arrogant, but I am a realist. And as a realist, it would be absolutely unprofessional for me to sit here and pretend I'm not an exceptional human being, because I am. And a lot of those things I did myself, and some of them were God-given. But the ones that weren't God-given was because I put myself through hell. I put myself through hell because I decided to throw comfort away. For 10 years of my life, I was never comfortable. As a man, if you don't make yourself valuable, you have no value. You have to get up and do it. Just like a video game, you start with 0. You have to decide if you want to complete it. You have to upgrade your character. So I find it amazing that men are going to play video games and come out and waste their time instead of upgrading their character. Everyone knows what to do. You know what you have to do.
You're right.
If you had to become the most dangerous, intelligent, respectable man on the planet, you know you're supposed to go to the gym. You know you're supposed to train, learn how to fight. You know all these things. You don't do them. That's your decision. It's your prerogative. I didn't make that choice. I made the choice to do it all. I decided all of that. And every single man watching this can do the exact same thing. And me as a man, when I put myself through hell, when I have had such exacting, such stringent standards for myself, why would I then have less exacting, stringent standards on the people I meet?
Damn.
Why would I put myself through hell to be me and then meet someone who didn't put themselves through hell and then treat them like my equal? No, you. I suffered when you didn't. So you're not my equal because you decided not to suffer. You have enjoyed comfort when I haven't, and that's fine, but don't expect me to look at you as my equal because you're not. I'll snap your neck. If we were still in the animal kingdom, the lions that you see on TV, they weren't just born big lions. They had to fight other lions. They had to fight to get that antelope. They had to fight other animals, hyenas, jackals. They had to fight to be the boss. We're living in a comfortable world now where people think, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But you know what? To some degree, it does matter. It does matter. And I'll tell you who it matters to. It matters to your soul and it matters to God. I stand in the mirror with a pure heart. I know I am the best version of me that could possibly ever exist. I know that God is proud of me. There's nothing that God hates more than sloth and laziness. If God were to create a man and that man were to sit around and do all, God will frown upon you. It's why you're never lucky. If you're listening to this and you think I'm never lucky, I'll tell you why, because God dislikes you because you're lazy. Start to work. Start to show God the beauty of his own creations. You'd be amazed how lucky you'll become.
Wow.
God is unhappy with these people. And inside their hearts, they're unhappy. We talk about depression, anxiety, all those things you mentioned earlier on this podcast. That comes from self-loathing. You loathe your own weakness. You loathe your own laziness. This is what all of these things are. I don't feel depression. How can I feel depression when I'm the most powerful version of me that I could ever be? How can I feel depression when I could squeeze my own hand hard enough to break my own bones? How can I feel depression when I've smashed and destroyed 68 people's faces in front of me, men who thought they could test me in fair combat? How can I feel depressed? It's impossible. If you cannot control your own mind, then you are just a feather in the wind of life. Because your own mind is the only thing you can control. You can't control the weather. Right. You can't control other people. You can't even control whether your heart stops beating. You might have a heart attack tomorrow. You can't control anything besides what you think. If you cannot control your own mind, then you go through life with zero control, zero influence. You can't control anything. You're just a feather in the wind, waiting for life to blow you from happy place to sad place to happy place to sad place. Completely hoping on the gods to be fortunate to you, because if any genuine discomfort comes your way, it is trained like everything else in life. It is trained. So if you find yourself not appreciating what you have until it's gone, then you must blink and cure your brain. If you find yourself unable to focus or concentrate on tasks, you must blink and cure your brain. If you find yourself unable to go and dedicate yourself to something you don't want to do, you must blink and cure your brain. Because all of our minds have been under constant assault for years. The way the mind functions, the way people interact, has changed so significantly in the last 10 years you wouldn't believe. If you go to a party today as opposed to a party 10 years ago, they look completely different. People are acting differently. People are on their phones now than ever used to be. Even now, people will go to places only to get an Instagram picture, even if they don't enjoy the place.
Wow.
It's all about pretending they're having fun as opposed to actually having fun. The entire paradigm of society and how we interact has now changed. Every single thing in the world is attempting to influence you. I'll give you another paradigm that people need to understand. I ask people have these beliefs. Doesn't matter what their belief is. Doesn't matter, they believe in something. I say, where did you get that belief from? And they don't know. Oh, well, it's just how it's supposed to be. We're just supposed to wear a mask, whatever it is, right? Where did you get that belief? Who told you that? And does that person have your best interests at heart? Think about it. Think about all the things you truly believe. Think where you learned it and think if that person actually gives about you. Because the only thing you should be learning from is personal experience for people who genuinely care about you and love you. Most people are out here believing things and repeating things that were told to them by people who don't even like them, by their enemies. Everyone's mind is fundamentally, all of it. Look at me. I'm a guy who decided to conquer social media. I blinked, I cured my brain, I used basic indefatigability, I used perspicacity, I used compendiousness, I used my mind, and I focused, and I conquered the world in a few short months. It's not difficult, there's just no competition because everybody's distracted. Conquest is all life's ever been for men. This is what men have an innate desire to to conquer. Even you care about having as many viewers as possible on your streams. You care about being as big as possible. You care about conquering. Why did the Romans wake up, melt rocks, make swords, and walk in random directions? They didn't have Google Maps. They didn't have a clue where they were going. Random directions to find some other group of people and come up and take their shit. Why? Conquest. This is a conquer. Why did Genghis Khan ride his ass from Mongolia all the way to Vienna? It's a long way. Why? Conquer. Men are born with this innate desire to conquer. It's inside of us. They're trying to suppress it. They're trying to distract it away from you, tell you that you're wrong. You're toxically masculine. You shouldn't want to conquer. You should want to sit at home and be tolerant. No, you shouldn't. You should want to conquer shit. Only thing that's going to make you intrinsically happy is conquest. Nothing else. If you're depressed, it's because you don't conquer shit. Conquer something. Get up and do it. It doesn't have to be a negative at all. You can do it in a very, very positive way. You can have a positive impact on the world. I like to think that my impact on the world has been positive. I've conquered the whole internet, and I've done it in a positive way. I'm helping the world.
I think we're here to struggle and to learn. I don't think we're here to be happy. That's why when we keep going back to the happy argument, I've always found that kind of frustrating and annoying. Yeah. And someone goes, oh, but I want to be happy. Why? It's almost like once you understand what life is really about, there's no emotion which isn't enjoyable. The only emotional state which can be seen as detrimental is feeling nothing at all. But if you're sitting at home and you're feeling truly heartbroken, at least you're feeling something, right? And I think that's the whole part of being human. I think we're here to struggle. I think we're here to go through pain. That's so I wake up each day and go, what can I attack? What problem can I solve? And look at history. Why did Genghis Khan wake up and want to conquer the whole world? Why did Napoleon conquer the world? Why did Alexander the Great conquer the world? Just wake up and just say, give me this, give me that. I want all of it. I need to, there's an army there. They're really big. We're better. It's intrinsic. Yeah. You need to go and conquer. That's the purpose of life. God created us to learn and understand ourselves and understand other people and understand the world. And what did I say earlier? I said that you don't learn a lesson or you don't appreciate something
without pain.
Without pain. So you have to struggle to learn anything.
I think that a lot of people don't understand that it's all of the challenges and struggles that's going to make them, it's either going to make or break them. I don't read studies very often, but I was sent a study about stress from somebody. It's probably the best study I ever read. And it's talked about the placebo effect of stress. And it said that they took some of the most stressed people in the world, CEOs, etc. And the ones who believed that stress was really bad for them were dying earlier because of the cortisol inside of their blood. And they said stress was really bad for them, they were having heart attacks. But the ones who believed that stress was good for them and it made them perform, I perform under pressure, stress is good for me, they were living longer. So the same drug inside of their blood, how they framed it inside of their mind had different effects on their body. So from that point onwards, even though I already thought this way, I knew I was the right way. I knew it was the right way to think innately because I've done pretty good in life that way. But this confirmed it. Every time I feel stressed or under pressure, I get excited. I hate to not be stressed. I wake up and I'm like, everything's good. Yes. Like that's just how I am, right? But it's how you adopt, it's how you look at the problems and how you use them to fuel you. So the question was, what's the problem for the average man today? What's the biggest problem? I think there's a whole host of problems. But what you have to do is frame it inside of your mind and understand that all of those problems are going to allow you, give you the fuel, the unlimited motivation that you need to become a successful and beautiful individual if you frame it in the right way. If you take a man and give him a life shielded from problems and he never has any to face, I guarantee you he's terrible at being a man. The best men in the world have gone through shit. That's why women love scars, because it didn't kill you. That's the whole point of it, right? So the best thing you can do as a man is look and go, okay, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard. I feel negative because these are all so difficult. I'm struggling with X, Y, Z. Let me internalize all of that and turn it into a superpower. Let me become genuinely uncomfortable with my situation in life and go and fix things. Because like I said, the universe is absolutely and utterly very giving. And if you truly hated being in the position you were in, you wouldn't be there.
The fact that I believe each and every one of you is exactly where you deserve to be in life, or where you belong, or, we change the wording, where you want to be. So if you're not a millionaire and you're not happy with your life, guess what? You are where you deserve to be. And the reason I'm going to say that is as follows. This all, I had a bad luck this, or I tried this, or I can't pull off that, blah, 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 blah. It's impossible to exist somewhere where you're not comfortable. If I were to say, lay on these red hot stones, and you tried to do it, you'd get up and move because it hurts, it's not comfortable. You have to get out of that position. Yet, if you look at your lives, your life is in a shit position, but you don't move, you don't do anything about it. So if it was really, truly uncomfortable to you, like those red hot stones were, you'd change something. But the fact you refuse to change something shows that you're pretty comfortable where you are. Now, of course, you can talk a good talk. All you will sit there and go, oh, but no, my life's not in order, I want to be rich, and I want to be in shape, and I want, and I'm gonna, and then you don't do anything. Which shows that you know how to talk the talk, but you can't walk the walk. When I was broke, I couldn't sleep. And I say that, people laugh. I'm not joking. When I wanted money, like I needed air. I am smart enough to know that money equals freedom. And I don't want to live controlled by a job. I don't want to live controlled by a government. I don't want to live controlled by nobody. I want to be free. I want to be able to go on Twitter and say what I want and not worry about losing my job like a little pussy. I needed money. And I used to sit there and just literally my hands in my head, and people were like, what's wrong with you? It's like, I need money. I want money today. I would have been one of them cats that robbed a bank. If I didn't find money, by the time I was 40, I would have walked in there with a shotgun. I'm not gonna live broke, get rich, or die trying. I understand that completely. You're sitting there going, oh, well, yeah, I really want to be a millionaire. And then just go to sleep. Oh, get my pillow, I'm tired. You are not uncomfortable in your position. Same thing with physical fitness. You're a fat. Oh yeah, I really need to lose weight. I know I'm going to lose weight. Why are you fat then? Getting fat does not happen slowly. Getting fat does not happen quickly. It's a slow process. You didn't notice across a year, every time you looked in the mirror, your eyes were closed. You knew what was happening. And you were comfortable being fat, because if you weren't comfortable, you would do something about it. I talk to people with their lives all up, and they're like, well, my life's all up. And I'm like, yeah, well, of course it is, because you're happy for your life to be up. Even if you're not happy, even if you're uncomfortable, you're not uncomfortable enough to change it. If you were genuinely unhappy about your position, you would not be coming to me for motivation. If you were genuinely pissed off about your situation, you would not need me to motivate you. You would motivate yourself, and you would do something to change it yourself, but you don't, which says a lot. So this whole motivational shit is all garbage. All you are exactly where you belong. I'm where I belong. The top of the mountain, with a Lambo, Bentley, Aston, 5 houses, 6 million in liquid cash, and 20 girlfriends. This is where I belong, because I refuse to stay anywhere else.
17-year-old Andrew, what would you tell yourself?
I think Justin actually nailed it.
He did.
No, you nailed it.
Do hard things.
Name a single attribute for masculinity which is going to come from a place other than trauma or pain. I talk about this all the time. People say, I've had a traumatic life. I say, well, then you're very, very fortunate. You had a traumatic life. Now, you may have misused that trauma. You may have misplaced it. You may have accepted the matrix telling you that you now have an excuse to fail, as opposed to using it to grow. But every single man of value went through trauma, and they went through pain. It's going to be painful to get strong, painful to get rich, painful to become important. It's going to be painful to become good with women. Your heart's going to get broken a bunch of times. You have to be prepared for the pain. If you're not ready for pain, you're never going to be anything that matters. So Justin just absolutely and utterly nailed it. My kickboxing coach used to say to me, I used to come in the gym, say, what do you hate the most? And I said, I hate running. He said, okay, you're going running. I say, why? He goes, because whatever you hate is what you need. Whatever you hate is what you need. I wanted to spar, bag work, pads, no problem. Running, I didn't want to run, but that's what you need. And that's what life's about. You're not going to be able to go through life avoiding pain and also becoming a man of quality. You're going to have to be that guy who's been through so much shit that he can wake up and go, this ain't nothing. This ain't nothing compared to back then. This ain't nothing compared to that time. You know, and if you're not going to be that guy, then you're going to always suffer the consequences of not being that guy. There's pain to become important, and there's pain in not being important.
So you have to make a choice. So I think Justin absolutely nailed it. I think his answer is even better than mine could be. You need to find something you're afraid of, find something that could hurt you, and go do it. And that's one of the great things about being young, right? You're basically superhuman. Stop talking, start listening, get out there, get hurt, get the back up. And there's a degree. There's also something I want you to comment on from the football perspective, but there is a degree of wisdom that comes from physicality. I learned a whole bunch of shit about the world from just having my ass kicked. It wasn't even conversations. It was just getting beaten up. And you learn about the world I write tweets and people are like, that's so wise. Where'd you learn that? I was like, oh, kicked in the face. That's how. I would say the number one thing that will tell me how successful a person will be, especially as a man, is their stress tolerance.
Yes.
You're not going to have a big life without big problems. You're not going to be important without 4 girlfriens, 22 cars, 3 businesses. Your phone ain't going to stop. It's going to be stressful. Banks are going to get frozen. Money's going to go missing. You're not going to have a big life that's a calm ocean. You need to learn to just surf the waves and laugh, because most people just collapse under the pressure. Stress tolerance is a massive indicator of how successful you're going to be. And no matter what happens in my life now, I can sit there and go, well, at least I'm not about to get in the cage and deal with that guy, you know? And you need to have, at least I can eat. We've all been through stages where we can't eat. So stress tolerance is something that can be learned. It's something that you can, like you said, when you're young, it's a muscle.
It's a muscle.
When you're young, go out there and get stressed, get upset, have those sleepless nights. You should, at 17, 18, you should be panicking, right? And that's going to give you a stress tolerance level that allows you to grow into an adult, which can handle a big life. You're not going to have a big life. You're not going to be here like all 4 of us are, living the life like we're living, rolling around Europe in supercars with unlimited finance, and have that big life and think that you're not going to have any kind of stress or problems to get there and maintain it. That's not real.
Yeah, there's a very strange sense of terror that comes from knowing exactly what's going to happen to you. There's a strange sense of calm that comes from it also, but in the middle of the night when you can't sleep, sometimes you feel happy knowing what they're trying to do to you, and sometimes you feel terrified knowing what they're trying to do to you. I think I'm very happy. Every single podcast I did previous to this, I hammered the point home, and I made it very clear that they had the intention of trying to put me in jail. I said, there's 3 lives. They try and cancel you and slander you and destroy your name. They don't just want you to disappear from the internet. They want you to disappear from the internet in a cloud of shame. They have to shame you, which is why they chose the crimes they did for me, and it's why they usually choose the crimes they choose, because it's heinous. They want to shame you, and they want you to disappear with your head facing the ground and never pop up again. Obviously, they attempted to cancel me. I became more famous than ever before. I even said to you on your podcast, and I said on other podcasts, I said, I think they made a mistake. I think when you have power and you overuse it, what happens is a rebellion. That's how a revolution starts. When you have power, you have to be very, very careful with how you use that power. The second you overuse it, there's a revolution. And we're in Romania, so they know all about that. That's exactly what happens. And I said at the time, I think I was a mistake. I think they made a big mistake canceling me the way they did. And then the second time, the second life, which I described as they try and put you in jail for no reason. Here we are in the current scenario. I knew it was going to happen. And the third one is they put a bullet in your head. So we're going to have to see how the second life plays out. And yeah, I mean, when this is all over and I win the court case and I get the not guilty, I won't be smiling. I'll be walking out the courtroom with my head on a swivel. That's the kind of life I'm living now. I'm going to be thinking, oh, okay, so their second attempt failed. Now what? Like, do I want to fly private anymore? Do I want to go that place anymore? You start to think about these things. Like, do I want to do these things? A lot of billionaires dying in plane crashes. It's strange. So it's scary, regardless of how it plays out. And I guess you just have to go with the punches and see where it lands. And God has a plan for me and for all of us, and we're just going to see how it ends up. I want to make it very clear, and I make it clear on absolutely every single podcast, I would never kill myself. I don't care what they say. I don't care what video they show you. Never under any circumstance would I kill myself. It's haram. Never. I don't care if they put me back in the dungeon, solitary confinement by myself for the rest of my human years. I would never kill myself, ever, ever. So if that ever happens, God forbid, do not believe whatever garbage they tell you. The chance of me killing myself is precisely 0. They have to damage my influence. They have to damage my influence. They can't sit there and let me be influential because I'm saying things that they don't like me saying. And there are people sitting around going, he's saying things counter to our message and counter to our narrative. Get rid of it. And they have a pretty standardized playbook. And this is probably one of the first times in history where their playbook just isn't working. Cancel him. He's still around. Oh, well, lie about him in the news. Just say he touches chicks. Well, no one believes it. Oh, all the comments are on his side. Everyone's calling us liars. Okay, then do it again. Then do it again. Make up a new girl. Then do it again. Find someone else. Yeah. And they keep attacking me with the same weapons, but the bullets are bouncing off.
And that doesn't give me a sense of calm. That doesn't make me think, ha ha ha, I'm invincible. It makes me think, uh-oh. It makes me think, uh-oh, because human life is cheap at the top. It's very cheap. It's interesting because sometimes I analyze myself and think, why don't I just do that? Why don't I just disappear? You know, I don't need money. I don't need fame. Why don't I just disappear? And then you have to, I was saying this to my brother, and he was like, well, Genghis Khan didn't need Vienna. Some people are just wired that way. Like, Vienna's a long way from Kathmandu. Sometimes that's just the way it is, or Ulaanbaatar, I apologize, to the capital of Mongolia. That's just the way some people are. If I see injustice, and if I see things which I believe to be false, I feel like I am obligated to say the truth. I can't explain why, even if at my own detriment. What am I doing this for? Like, it's to the detriment of my life. And I've had these conversations at length with the people close to me, and we're all saying the same thing. It's always been the same way. Humanity's always been the same way. There's been a select, small, few good men up against evil, and evil always outnumbers you. Evil always has more money than you. They always have more power and more influence than you. If you play any video game, when you get to the end boss, he always has more life than you. He always has more hit points, but you're the good guy. And it's kind of like, it's never been any different. At any point in human history, there's been the good guys up against the forces of evil, whatever they were of the time, and you've always been outnumbered, and you've always been supposed to lose. Well, instead of saying who, I will say, what I will start by saying is what they do. And what they do is they control information. And we now live in an information society, and by controlling information, they control how people think and act and react to things. That's all they have to do. They have to control information, and they have to be very selective with what they allow you to talk about and what they allow you to discuss and what they don't. And once they can do that, they can keep you bickering about garbage, and they can control the sensitive information, and then they run the world. So having all the information controlled and having this hard barrier on what can be discussed, that's how they can purport absolute fallacies. I think now it's been a couple years, we can probably talk about it. They psyoped the world into believing they should be afraid of the common cold. They psyoped the world into this. And if you think about how difficult that would be to do, how difficult would it be to psyop the entire population of Earth? Well, what you do is you just lie on repeat, and you don't allow anyone to say anything counter to it without hurting them the same way I've been hurt. And you just psyop them. It's actually amazing because now I use that exact same psyop on people. I love it. I love it. So when I sit with someone who's not matrix minded, when I sit with someone who is matrix minded, like when the BBC walked in here, I'm like, do you all have your vaccinations? Social distancing.
Did you actually?
100%. Social distancing, please. And they look at me like I'm crazy. Well, how am I crazy? 2 years ago, you were telling me to do this. Now when I repeat your own worldview to you, I'm crazy. Well, if I'm crazy, guess what? You're a liar, because you lied the whole time. So either you're a liar or I'm not. You know, how can I be nuts? Put your mask on. If I ever talk to any of these clowns again, they're going to be fully masked up. And I refuse. I don't care if you've had 2 booster jabs. No, I want all 6 injections. I want paperwork. Or get fucked.
You're not coming in the house.
I'm scared of COVID. It's dangerous. I believe the mainstream media. I'm scared.
This word you keep using, PSYOP, I've never heard this word. It's short for psychological operations.
Correct.
Break that down. What exactly is a PSYOP?
Yeah, a PSYOP is the matrix as a whole. It's like psychological operations are constant. They constantly decide how they want you to think and what they can do to make you believe that, right? There's a whole bunch of them they do. But it starts with tolerance. That's what I don't like about this whole guise of tolerance. It's not that I'm an intolerant person. It's not that I'm a bad person. It's not that I want to hurt other people. But when they keep pushing tolerance, what they're trying to say is have no standards or barriers or parameters for anything. That's what they want. You have to be tolerant. Tolerant of what? Tolerant of having your shop set on fire, tolerant of your kids being taught things you don't want, tolerant of crime, tolerant of your house being broken into. Like, tolerant of what? You're not allowed any hard barrier or any hard parameters as a man anymore. That's why they push tolerance. That's the beginning of it. That's the first stage. Once you accept absolute tolerance, well, then it's the end, isn't it? I'm tolerant of everything. I'll eat the bugs. Sure.
You'll tolerate everything.
I'll tolerate everything. I'm tolerant. Sure. So when I say things like I'm intolerant of certain things and people think that's bad, no, you need to have standards and parameters. And that's one of the reasons they also attack me. I say that men should be allowed to have standards and parameters in a relationship and in their lives. We should be allowed to decide who we want to marry, and we should have standards for her. They have standards for us. We should allow ourselves to have standards for her. We should have standards in what we'll accept from a government and standards in what we'll accept from a police force. We should have standards as men. But they're trying to erode all of that, because once that's gone, then your brain is completely empty. And then once your brain's empty, they can just plug in the slave program, and then it's over, right? You're a tolerant person. You're a tolerant person. Good. You're a good slave. Slaves are exceptionally tolerant.
They're good for different things, man. But they both have the same basic worldviews, the same basic what's the word I'm looking for? Propaganda. The same. They're trying to hypnotize you in the same way, right? And it's all done on purpose. I think we've discussed this before, and we'll discuss it certainly a bit later. But they're trying to destroy the masculine imperative to prevent revolution. So it's all kind of the same. There's certain things I respect about each country. But it was good to certainly at a young age move around a bit as well. It allowed me to never, ever really settle in a school and make a bunch of good friends or anything like that. So I always understood, even from a young age, how to make people like me quickly, and also how unimportant the relationships with those people were, right? I wasn't a kid who's like, oh, I'm going to miss my best friend. I was like, okay, you were my best friend for 2 years. Peace. I'm out. I was like that. So that's probably another reason why me and my brother are so close. So yeah, it was a good upbringing. I can't have nothing bad to say about it. I was just raised by the OG. My dad was a G. Big, black, chess master, huge, drinking, gambling, pimping. Like, he's just out here. He was just that guy, right? So he was like that to the end. So he was a hero. Yeah. So chess, I mean, obviously my father was a chess master, right? So I had to learn the game. He sat me down. I spent a lot of time learning it. And to this day, I have massive respect for chess. So much respect for the game. It's so much harder at that world level than people can even fathom. Unless you even play the game, you can't even anticipate how good these people are at the game. They're effectively computers. I don't think you can even be good at chess at that level without having something a little bit wrong with you. You got to be on the spectrum somewhere. Do you know what I mean? Because it's crazy how good these guys are. But yeah, chess is an amazing thing. I still play chess every day. I'm not world level or anything. I'm around 1750, 1800 elo. If anyone knows chess, that's what I am. But yeah,
would that be considered better than average?
Certainly better than average. Yeah. You know, the average player, let's say, is around 1,000 or something.
Okay.
But my dad was 2,400. Okay. Or 2,500.
Damn.
Okay. So yeah. So I'll give you an example. My dad could beat me without looking at the board. So my dad would be in the kitchen, around the kitchen, cooking dinner. I'd be in front of a chessboard in the living room, and I'd say E4. He'd say C6. Knight F3. Knight C3. And he'd smoke me without looking at the board. That's how good the best. It's insanity. Yeah. But I do think it's a good basis for life. There's certainly a lot of lessons in chess. There's certainly a lot you can attribute to chess from everyday life to the chessboard. And I think it's a good grounding mechanism. I enjoy to sit down for a good couple hours, win some games, lose some games. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you my favorite one first.
Yeah. Please do.
My favorite one is the difference between the king and the queen, right? Because the king moves one square at a time, and the queen can just zip across the board, right? So you're here in Miami, you're partying in Miami. They got all these parties right now. It's Art Basel, blah, blah, blah. You see all these chicks on a boat. For the man to get on that boat, it's one square at a time, right? He has to get a good job. He has to get his taxes right. He has to find a way to leverage credit. He has to meet the guy who sells the boats. He has to go through all this shit stage by stage by stage to finally pull off being on that yacht and having that yacht at the age of 56. A chick, what does she need? Lip fillers? Boom. Zip. On. She gets straight on. That's the difference between the king and the queen. But although the king is slower than the queen, he's the most important piece, right? The king can't die. The queen can die. The queen, sometimes you can be looking at a position and go, this is up. The only way out of this is to sacrifice that bitch. Sometimes you can do it. I'll tell you a very quick story. This is a story I've never told before. When I was, how old was I? 23? When I was 23, I was dating a ballerina. She was the prima ballerina of the Cambridge Ballet School in England. And I had no money. I was a fighter, but I was coming up. I didn't really have any money. And she lived far away, like an hour and a half away, but she used to come see me, and we were good for like a year and a half. I loved this girl, yeah? And she finished ballet school. She started dancing in clubs in London. She couldn't get any ballet work. Surprise, surprise. Who wants ballet work, right? So she ends up doing like dancing and not stripping, but like dancing in the club, you know. So now she's around all the London money every day. She's out dancing all the time. She's up late every night. She doesn't want to drive an hour and a half to come see me. None of this shit. So we're kind of falling apart a little bit. And she ended up talking to someone famous, David Hay. I don't know who he is. He's a boxer. So David Hay starts texting this bitch, right? Back and forth to the... So anyway, when I finally saw her again, she was like, we had an argument. She's like, well, you know what? You think you're a fighter? This guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. I'm like, look, if you're going to go for idiots, at least do it for money. And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, if you're going to go for idiots, at least get paid because they don't give a fuck about you. Like, if you're going to play this game, at least do it for money.
Right.
So I had this argument with her back and forth, and I explained to her that these men are just going to use you. If you're going to do it, at least get paid. And when she left the house, Tristan said, why are you telling her to for the dudes? I'm like, no, I'm just understanding that in my chess position, I've lost this game.
Right.
The game is done now. Just sooner or later, she's out. All we do is argue. She's in the club every night. I'm just trying to say, before she leaves, maybe I can get a little bit of money.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the queen sacrifice, right?
Right.
We broke up 3 months later. I don't know if she's him or not, or who she's, I don't know. I never spoke to her since. But that's kind of the analogy you have to be able to apply to life. Sometimes chicks got to go.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have to go to save the king. And too many dudes, most of the time, men truly lose at life is because they've attached themselves to a queen and they won't let her up. They won't sacrifice her. No matter what, I promised I'm going to stick by you. Our marriage vows, no matter what. And they just stay on that sinking ship till she eventually leaves his ass. Even worse, what most queens do, I don't want to use queens, what most women do nowadays, especially in the West, I see women getting their men in trouble all the time. You know how many times I've seen chicks starting fights for their dude to have to mop up? My man's gonna and the man's like, oh, shut up, man. There's 4 of them.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Like, even if he's a big dude, he's like, I don't really need this now today. You know what I'm saying? Man, another story. I have so many stories in my life. My life's been cool. Back around the same time, I'm 22, 23 years old, kickboxer. I was British champion. I wasn't world champion at the time. It was 4 a.m. The club just ended. I was in a chicken and chip shop. It's an English thing. They sell like fries and fried chicken, and they're open 24 hours. Like, yeah, something like that. And there's a long line. An Audi with tinted windows pulls up. These 3 big black guys get out, push it straight in front of the whole line, go straight up to the front, cut in front of 5 people, and start ordering. My girl goes to me, we've been waiting here ages. I said, shut the up. Shut the up. She goes, you're just going to let them push in? I said, shut the up. So I made her be quiet, right? Anyway, the man two in front of me, not this guy, the guy here, he couldn't tell this bitch to shut up. She's like, excuse me, there's a line. And the guy turns around and goes, you think I don't see the line? I don't care about the line. So she starts running her mouth. Bro, this dude knocked her out.
Oh, man.
Whack, clean, out cold. By the time her man looked at her and looked back up, boom, sparked, done.
Whoa.
Both of them. And I stood there and watched both of them just laid out clean. Yeah, fatalities, bro. It was, I wouldn't be surprised if they both have permanent damage. It was bad. The 3 dudes who ordered the chicken and chips didn't even take their food. They started laughing, walked back out, got in the car. And I turned around and said to my girl, you see, some people are just ready to go to jail. Some people are ready to kill people over nothing. You want me to fight? Oh, yeah, I can fight. But what am I fighting these 3 dudes for? What, fries?
Yeah.
What, fries and a 10-minute delay?
Damn.
Man, and this is what bitches will get you into this shit.
Yeah.
Bitches will get you into this shit fast. And that's why when I see dudes saying, oh, yeah, she's just my friend, you're hanging around with girls and they're not even giving you pussy and they might get your ass killed. What the fuck's wrong with you, man? Girls are a liability. They're a liability to have around you because you have a duty to protect them in some regard. I curate my experience very, very carefully. Any woman I'm around, I understand I have to protect. So she better suck something. So I ain't sitting around being friends with no bitch because I've seen it. I've seen so many men have their ass kicked over chicks. It's incredible. 100%, man. They're a liability, and it's not necessarily just completely their fault.
Yeah.
But if you're rolling with a chick who won't shut up and you tell her to shut up, you need to be careful, man. And Myron nailed it. There's a big difference between fighting and violence.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a professional fighter, right? I know how to fight. But fighting and violence are different things.
Yep.
If I wanted to get violent on somebody, I just run them over. Like, forget fighting. Right? If somebody who hurt my family was on the sidewalk, I'm not going to get out and fight the guy. I'm just going to just run him over my truck. We'll talk about violence. Because if you rely on the government for food stamps, then you can't argue with the government, can you? So that's what they want. So anyone who believes in the Matrix and believes in media and believes in the lies they're told, anyone who sits there and goes, that's true, that it's literally designed to make you broke. That's why it's all a scam. Do your GCSEs, do your A-levels, get in debt, go to uni, get out, get a shit job, get a mortgage. Don't worry, when you've paid that mortgage off when you're 61, then you'll have enough money to go to Spain for holiday. Then your pension comes. Oh, government doesn't have the pension money anymore. Funny enough, hedge fund stole it. Oops-de-doops. And then you wake up one day and go, whoa, I just got... So the whole scam, the whole story is a lie because they want you broke. They don't want you rich. If you're rich, you won't listen to them. So all of it's a lie. And intrinsically, we all know this, right? When I pull up in one of my 30 cars to a gas station and people look at me and they see a Lambo or a Ferrari or a Bugatti or a Koenigsegg, whatever I'm driving, nobody goes, wow, he went to school. No, they think drug dealer, gangster. They're thinking he broke the rules because anyone who follows the rules doesn't get shit. It's all a scam. It's all a fucking lie. So the slave minds are, but those are the only ones who are too stupid to make money. Anybody who understands that the Matrix is lying to them is smart enough. So very small percent are too stupid. Inside of our school, at the height of it, before the Matrix attack, we're relaunching now, we had 175,000 students.
Wow.
When we had 175,000 students, maybe 2,000 we kicked out for being too stupid. It's step by step. Do this, do that, do this, and don't be lazy.
not that hard, right? So stupid's not the problem. So we have people who are lazy, very few are stupid, but the majority, the main reason most people are broke is because they are arrogant. I will sit here and say all the things I've said. I will do this, take time out of my life for free. Somebody at home will watch and digest it for free. They will agree with the things that are being said, or at least be entertained enough to continue to watch. And then I'll say, I'll teach you how to make money online. CobraTape.com, you can join the real world. And they'll sit there and go, nah, I'll do it myself. They're arrogant. They have these egos from who knows where because they didn't earn it. And they're just too arrogant to listen to anybody. I became world champion by listening to my coach. I didn't become world champion by walking in and saying, I'll do it myself. That's not how you get anywhere in life. You have to listen. If Mike Tyson were to walk in, or if Elon Musk were to walk in here and talk to me about money, I wouldn't be sitting there going, I can do that. I'd be like, oh, Mr. Elon, richest man in the world. Hello, very nice to meet you. Please, even though I already understand I don't want to launch a car brand or put rockets in space, please, you must know some things I don't know. How do you deal with the currency fluctuations? Does inflation impact how much it costs for you to send a rocket into space? Like, I'd ask him something that's useful, right? But some people are so brutally arrogant that they'll sit here and they'll listen to all the things I said, and they'll agree that I'm intelligent, they'll agree I'm massively successful, but they'll sit there and go, yeah, but you know what? I'll do it myself. I don't want to join that school because, I'll do it myself. They're arrogant. Everybody's arrogant. I sit with people who I used to go to school with from Luton who are still broke and tell them how to make money. And you know what they do? They answer back. Yeah, but it's not that simple because, the wife gets the kid, and you know what? And I don't like to do things that way. The way I like to work, the way you like to work is why you're broke. So what are you talking about? You just sat here and wasted 10 minutes of my time. I told you how to take your business of painting and decorating or whatever you're doing and make a serious amount of money, and now you're telling me the way you like to work? Then stay broke. What do you want me to do? What level of arrogance? But this is people. They'll sit with a multimillionaire and tell you their view. Oh, I think that know when you're out qualified and accept it and learn. So we all do. I can't play piano for shit. The piano teacher walked in here and said, this is what you do. And I said, well, I like to move my hands this way. What kind of dumbass? But this is the arrogance people operate under. So I'd say 20% of people are lazy, 20 to 25%. A large portion of the world are not lazy. They're actually working exceptionally hard, but they're doing the wrong thing. 5% of people are too stupid. So say 25%, 5% is 30%. But 70% of people are brutally arrogant, and this is why they are poor. That's the truth. Good question. I've talked about this already. It was an unorthodox strategy. I've talked about it at length, so I won't give the whole story because it's too long. But I identified a gap. I identified a market. I approached the scenario and the situation extremely professionally. And I worked exceptionally hard. I made my first $1 million. So my first millions came from owning a webcam studio. So I saw a little advertisement in the corner of a webpage saying, talk to live girls now. I've never been a porn guy. I'm not interested in that shit. But I was like, that's interesting. I know some girls who need some money. Boom, boom, boom. I put together this apparatus, extremely professional. No sexual misconduct, no Dan Bilzerian, no threesomes, nothing. Very professional. 50-somes if it's down. Very professional outfit. And I used all my business knowledge, all my life knowledge, and I applied it. I worked 22-hour days, I would say. I got to the point where I was so tired, that I said, you know what, give me 20 minutes. And if I could hear the alarm go off, I'd get up. Sometimes I just slept clean through it, and I slept an hour or two. For months and months and months, and I built an empire. I built an insanely large empire at one point. I'm completely out of that business now, but how did I do it?
As in, did you sell it?
I didn't sell it. I just closed it all down. I moved on. I started making a bunch of money, and I found other opportunities. But how did I get that opportunity? Perspicacity. First thing I said, pay attention. I paid attention. I looked at the girl. I'll give you the coffee shop example. This is what I did. I clicked on that advert. I saw the girl sitting there, miserable, waiting for a customer. I thought, nobody's going to buy from an unhappy bitch. The men who are paying her are trying to escape an unhappy life, or they wouldn't be doing this shit. So when I got my girls online, smile. Happy girls get paid. That was the token. That was the slogan. Happy girls get rich. Joking. Ha ha ha. Who's you going to pay? You're going to pay the girls like, yeah, having a blast. So I paid attention to the competition. I saw an opportunity just at the coffee shop. So all the things they did wrong. The room was messy. Camera quality was shit. There's the basic stuff. The way the girl acted and interacted. All that stuff. And I applied it all by paying attention countless hours watching everybody else, finding the way to do it better. So I put the coffee shop and I did it better.
So I was absolutely not perspicacious, and that's how you make money. And I did it with that, but I could have done it with anything. And now I do it with everything. The story of me sending a text message via my network and having a coffee shop is a true story. I've been in there maybe twice. I don't even go. And I have mechanisms in place to make sure I'm not robbed too badly, because unfortunately a little bit of cash goes missing. But everything's in place and it makes me money. I don't think I've even drunk my own coffee. I identified, I put together a list. It needs to be like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. I have competent people who work for me, which is very hard to find, but I do. They understand to follow the doctrine to the doctrine, and I'm getting money into a bank account. That's it. And you can do that with literally anything if you have a strong network and you pay attention. You can do anything. Even podcasts. We're doing a podcast right now. You guys are already big and successful at this. I'm telling you, you can look at the biggest podcasts in the world and still see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. It's just the game. That's the game. And then you have to outcompete everybody else.
So you made a very interesting point there. You just said on the face of it appeared to be blatantly misogynistic. I understand that on the face of some of the long format content I've made, if you're going to take a few seconds out of hours, chop it up, put it all over social media, accompanied with my massive fame, then things can absolutely not be taken out of context. I do not hate women in any regard. I have no negative relationship with women. No women have come forward saying I've hurt them. I have no criminal record for hurting women. There's no way I can be seen as the face or the devil in regards to how men treat women on the planet. I'm absolutely and utterly the opposite. I believe in protecting and providing. I've been misunderstood. There's been large contingents of people who have tried very hard to purport lies about me. And the truth of the matter is, I've been producing content for a very long time. Hours and hours of videos been cut down to 2 or 3 seconds of clip. Those clips have gone viral and people misunderstand me. Yeah, so the point I was making was obviously at the height of the Me Too scandal, and also if we look at Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, there's been a lot of high-profile cases where men have been accused of things they did not do without evidence, and their lives have been completely and utterly destroyed. Right. When I say these things, people sit and say that, oh, he hates women. I don't hate women. I think rape is disgusting. I would take a stronger stance on rape than the British government. I think these people should face the death penalty. But to sit and say that women without evidence can go forward and just make up accusations against men, even though they've been repeatedly proven to destroy men's lives at will, completely. I'm not going to sit here as a professional and say that I can't be taken out of context. What I will say is that one small sentence you've taken was from a 1-hour video where I explained that, of course, rape is disgusting. Of course, everybody should be punished for their crimes regardless of when they happen. But people are not perfect, male and female. And if you give women the opportunity to destroy men's lives without evidence, there's going to be a contingent of women who will do that. I'm trying to make a balanced and nuanced argument in a world where people have no attention span. They're going to take a few seconds, put it online, decide someone's good or bad, not be interested in the longer format video. And here I am. No, I'm certainly a person who takes personal responsibility. That's who I am as a person. But we live in a world now with TikTok videos 5 or 6 seconds long. There's no content. Because I made a religious point. I said that when a man marries a woman, the woman's father walks her down the aisle, and hands her away to the man. Traditionally, this is what it says in the Bible. I'm a religious person. I believe in God. I live in the Muslim.
I think my sister is her husband's property, yes. When a bride is walking down the aisle to marry the groom, the father walks next to her and gives her away. True or false?
Perhaps the way the reason I'm asked that question repeatedly, and I'm asked in a loaded way.
So would you rephrase what you said there?
Now that's an interesting point about phrasing. The way I would say things before I was famous, I have to take personal responsibility and accept that if I make a video that 500 people see and 1% of them misunderstand it, that's not a problem. If I make a video that 5 million people see and 1% of them understand.
So specifically on that point, I think my sister is her husband's property.
She took his last name. She married him. She wanted to join his family. She has said it herself.
Right. So she's
still a sovereign individual. Listen, my friend, if we want to argue about this, we need to go back to the Bible, to the Quran. You need to argue with religious.
No, I'm not talking about anything in the Bible or Quran.
But that's what it says.
No, I'm asking you what you think.
I think that if a woman marries a man and she decides to take his last name, that they have different roles and responsibilities within that marriage. And I believe that.
That's not the question.
I believe the father.
Don't behave like a politician.
The father hands her to the man.
Right, but don't be a politician, because I think you're a straight talker, right? You keep telling me you're a straight talker. I think my sister is her husband's property. Do you regret saying it like that?
I understand that with my newfound fame, perhaps it could be phrased differently. However, I still believe that a woman is given to the man in marriage. That's what I believe. Yeah, but that's the way that people ask me the question. People say to me, they ask the question.
Hang on, you can't blame people for asking you questions. Surely, if you want to be accountable for what you've said, You've got to own your responses, not blame the question.
I own the response.
Like me ask you a question now and you say something and then say, well, actually, I blame you for asking.
I understand, Piers. Piers, I understand. I believe the woman is given to the man. I believe she's given away by the father. I believe she belongs to the man.
So fundamentally, all right. So fundamentally, you do believe that a woman becomes a man's property at marriage.
I believe she belongs to the man in marriage, correct?
Right.
Then let me make it very, very clear to the camera. I believe a woman is given to the man in marriage. I believe that. I also believe a man has a duty to protect and provide for her. I believe a man should lay down his life if something happens or his wife's life is threatened. I believe that women and children first are on the lifeboats.
But men,
I believe that men.
But a man doesn't own a woman.
It's not. No. It's
unless they literally buy them as a slave.
Well, obviously, we're not talking about that. We're talking about religious, biblical marriage. We're talking about something else. I understand that very well, Piers.
That's why people think you're a misogynist.
Completely. I understand all of this very well, which is why when you're saying I was backtracking, I'm not.
Do you have any regret, though, over the way you phrased this stuff?
Well, this is the point I was trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is when I was not nearly as famous and I was making long format content, I was not sitting there anticipating I'd become the most Googled man on the planet and that a few seconds could be taken out of context. That was not my anticipation.
No, but it's still what you believed. It's what you believe now. So what's the difference?
It's not about, you're asking me, you're saying that young people who are impressionable.
If you said to me, look, Piers, honestly, I've had time to think about this and I wish I hadn't said it. I don't believe that. That's one thing. Actually, you've said the opposite. You said, actually, that's what I think, yeah.
I think that when
it doesn't really matter whether you recorded it when you're famous or not famous. It's what you actually believe, right?
I believe that a man has a duty to protect and provide for a woman. I believe that a woman's father gives her away to the man. That's what I believe, and that's in my marriage. That's the circumstance I'm going to live under. If people want to live in a different scenario, that's completely theirs. Their prerogative.
You went on to say about authority over women. If I have a responsibility over her, I must have a degree of authority.
Yeah.
For the same reason, if I have responsibility over and people are going to use their mind, it's an example, an analogy. Responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority.
Yeah.
So you believe as part of your ownership or your property of the woman, you have authority over her.
No, I believe if you have
that's what you said.
I believe if you have responsibility over something, you have to have a degree of authority or you can't be responsible.
Yeah, but authority means, again, that you're the boss.
The point I'm making, if you'll please let me finish
at
this point. The point I was trying to make was talking about the safety of a woman. She was walking alone at night. And I was saying, well, I wouldn't let my woman walk alone at night. And they said, well, you're not in charge of her. You don't get to decide what she does. I said, I understand. But if I'm responsible for her safety and I'm the person who's burdened with making sure she is safe, I have to have the authority to say, don't put yourself in unsafe situations. The two things are linked.
Well, you don't have authority. You can absolutely have the right to say to the woman you're with, I don't think you should. But ultimately,
if she decides, then I can't force her.
Right. So authority implies that you have the ability to control someone.
No, authority the authority implies that I have the moral right to sit and say that that's an irresponsible thing to do and I'm responsible for
That's not what authority means.
Well, I'm not going to, if you think I'm going to lock somebody up in their room, is that what you're implying?
No, I don't think you know what authority means.
I know what it means. I'm saying that if I
just a different description of what authority means.
If I have responsibility for her safety, then I have to have the authority to tell her not to do unsafe.
Yeah, but authority means that you have some form of control over this woman.
I think what you're trying to
I'm only trying to get to what you think. Honestly, I am. I come with no agenda here at all.
I understand. And I'm explaining very, very clearly. If I have responsibility over said subject, I have to have authority of it. So let me say you have children, right?
Right.
You have responsibility for them.
No, I have legal authority over my children. That is very different to having legal authority over my wife or my female partner.
Completely. But the point I'm trying to make.
So you accept that?
I accept that.
Because you used the analogy of responsibility for a child.
My friend, these are
actually really important things.
They're important things, but you interrupt me every 5 seconds, so it's hard for me to actually explain my point. The point I'm making here is very simple. You have children and you're responsible for their safety. So you're going to have authority to say, don't go out at night, perhaps because you want them to be safe.
I have legal authority.
You have a legal authority.
Yeah.
Legal authority. I'm saying that if I had a woman, and the question where you've raised this soundbite from, I was asked about protecting a woman, making sure she's safe. And I would say, I wouldn't want her to go out at night on her own because I'm responsible for her safety. And someone said, well, you don't have authority over her to do that. And I said, well, no, I can't force her to stay inside. But if she were to ask me, how do I protect myself at night? I would say, well, you should stay inside. That's how you should do it.
I don't have an issue with what
So we agree.
No.
It's the semantics.
No, it's not semantics. And this is where I don't think you quite get why there's a furore over what you say. With respect. Because the semantics point would be if we're saying the same thing in different ways. But we're not. I'm saying to you that when you say I have to have some authority over a woman, I say to you, you have no right to any authority over a woman. You do over a child if it's your child, because you are the legal appointed guardian of that child.
Understood.
You're not a legally appointed guardian or authority over your wife or female partner.
Legally appointed, absolutely not. I agree. However, When it comes to things like personal responsibility or personal safety, men, largely by society, are accepted. We're the protectors and providers. We can sit here and pretend that in the world we live in, if me and my wife were walking down the street and men were to come up and try and attack us, I wouldn't be the one fighting. But we both know in reality I would.
Right.
I have a degree of responsibility to protect her. So if I have a degree of responsibility to protect her physically, then the point I'm trying to make is I will do my best to make sure she's never putting herself in unsafe situations.
Do you wish you hadn't used the word authority?
The authority is something that she would give to me. She would come to me and say, how can I make sure I'm as safe as possible?
But I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to point out that's not what authority means.
If someone gives, a person can give
voluntary authority is not authority.
No, but that's the point.
If a woman,
Piers,
Andrew, it's not.
Piers, if a woman comes to me and says, I want you to keep me safe, she is handing me authority for her safety. Completely. I never said
one is consensual and one isn't.
But why are we pretending I do unconsensual things?
Because you literally say, I must have a degree of authority. I have to have some authority. And the point
only if I'm responsible for her safety. If I'm not responsible for her safety, I don't have authority.
If your position now is that with her permission, I would like to have authority when we go out at night to protect her, that's a different
That was
thing.
always my position.
But that's not what you said.
But that was always my position.
So again, I simply say to you,
It is what I said, though.
Do you wish you'd phrased it a different way?
No, because we're talking about long format copy where I'm talking about a woman who has come to me and said, you're responsible for making sure I'm safe. I said, well, then I have to make the decisions.
When an 18-year-old boy reads, I must have some authority over a woman, what do you think he thinks?
Well, I understand that. And I said this earlier when you tried to say I was backtracking, which I'm not doing.
No, actually, I'm not. I don't want to.
Okay.
I'm not trying to gotcha you.
Cool.
I'm trying to work out exactly what you actually
I understand
think.
With massive fame comes massive responsibility. I understand that a percentage of the population are always going to take everything that's said by anybody out of context.
Would you change the wording of what you said?
No, I would just encourage people to watch my long format copy and understand it
Would
fully.
you tell an 18-year-old boy you don't have authority over women?
Absolutely.
You would say that?
Unless a woman comes to him and says, you're responsible for my safety, please make sure keep me safe. Like
I
my
see.
woman
Now
says,
that,
comes to
Andrew
me.
Tate, I can sign up to.
Well, then we agree.
Yeah, but I don't agree with what you said before.
Because you're taking a soundbite from a 2-hour
Yeah, but you haven't been
conversation.
taken out of context because I read you the entire sentence. It's very.
But you've ignored all the context around the sentence, my friend.
You can't ignore a sentence that says, I must have a degree of authority.
But you can when there's a 2-hour conversation where a woman is telling me if she makes me responsible for her safety and me explaining, well, if I'm responsible for your safety, I have the authority to make decisions. So yes, you've ignored all the context.
Do you respect women?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Do you think that 18, 19-year-old women are more attractive than 25-year-old women?
I think there's attractive people. That's a loaded question. I don't know.
Well, it's not really, is it?
I can't.
You know why I'm asking it?
Of course I do, but I can't sit here and
say. For the benefit of viewers who don't know why I'm asking, you said this. In general, this is also one of the reasons men find youth attractive. You want to blow up the internet? I'll blow up the internet right effing now. The reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. People say, oh, you can't say that, but yes, I can. A 19-year-old is more attractive than a 26-year-old woman, and I'll tell you why. Because that 26-year-old has talked to more guys, been to the club more times, been effed and dumped more times, more arguments, more mess, more for me to clean up. That is misogyny.
Why?
Because you are encouraging a mindset about 25-year-old women that makes them sound out to be infinitely less desirable than 18, 19-year-olds and having effectively been having too much sex to be taken in a more respectful way.
Well, firstly, even if that was the case, that wouldn't be misogyny.
But what did you mean by what you said?
That's not misogyny because it's not anti-women. I'm saying that an 18 or a 19-year-old woman would be more desirable.
Pretty anti-25-year-old woman.
Anti-25-year-old women we can argue, but not misogyny.
Well, that's misogyny.
No, it's not.
Being anti any woman at all is misogyny.
Not when I'm saying that women are beautiful and attractive at a certain age and saying that ageist.
You're saying 18, 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25.
Well, than ageist perhaps, but misogynistic absolutely
is that
not.
But you just accepted it was misogyny.
No, I didn't. You said it was misogyny. I'm telling you, no, it's not.
So you don't think if you're saying slightly hateful things about a 25-year-old...
That's not slightly hateful.
Well, it is. You think you say that to a woman's face if she's 25?
It's not slightly hateful.
So you would go up to a 25-year-old woman and tell her exactly what I just read out?
Why would I walk up to a random 25-year-old woman?
Because you said it in public on the internet and it's been listened to and watched by millions and millions of young, impressionable boys.
Correct. There was a large panel. There was a conversation. There was hours long of conversation. There were feminists attacking men for toxic masculinity and attacking me and saying things. And I said things back which were going to antagonize them. Which you've done yourself a bunch of times.
I think a lot of allegations of toxic masculinity are not toxic.
Correct.
I do think that kind of sentence that I just read out, that paragraph, is actually toxic. If you genuinely mean that, and you say you wouldn't say it to a woman's face, but you said it in public about women of that age, I do think that's misogynist. And I think you probably do too.
I don't think it's misogynistic. I understand why it can be insulting.
So you wouldn't say it to a woman's face?
Well, it depends. You're making out like I'm walking around the street going up to random 25-year-olds.
Well, effectively, you're doing it to tens of millions of people online. There's no difference.
Not at all. We're discussing a topic. We were discussing the ideal age of a man.
Should young boys, right, in their teens, are you comfortable that they would have that mindset? Be honest.
I think that young boys in their teens lack life experience. They lack nuance. And they need to be very, very careful what they're digesting online, whether it's my content or anybody else's. Who protect and provide for the people close to them, are fantastic for the economy. And I'm certainly not the worst influence out here, Piers. You have Lil Nas twerking on the devil on music videos, which our children are digesting. You have drill artists singing about stabbing people to death in the middle of a knife crime epidemic. You have rabid psychopaths on whether the right or the left announcing violence on the other side. You have all these insanities in the world. And because I sit here and say, perhaps. Now you've laid it out and it offended you, I understand.
I didn't say it offended.
Okay, cool.
I just read you the things.
You read things that you said they could be offensive and some people are offended.
Well, some people definitely were offended.
Absolutely. That's fine.
And honestly, I think some of the things you said were genuinely offensive and misogynist.
Okay, so they offended you.
Like
I said earlier, so they offended you, which is fine. I said they offended you, you interrupted me, and now you're saying they offended you, which is fine. But the point I'm trying to make is this. I'm not the devil. There are certainly worse people than me, and
I don't disagree
and they exist.
With that.
And I'm saying that my core tenets for the people who don't understand me are self-accountability, so I'm accountable for everything I've ever said. My core tenets are responsibility, so I'm responsible for everything I've said. My core tenets are traditional masculinity to a degree, which involves protecting and providing for women. And I'll make another point here that needs to be said. The number of women who have stood up and stuck up for me is ignored. Thousands of women are making videos saying, I've met Andrew Tate, he's such a nice guy. I wish I had a man like Andrew Tate who felt responsible to protect and provide for me. You know what? I do belong to my husband, that's why I married him and I love him. We ignore the thousands of women who stood up and stood by me and said everything I said is true. And we're taking a very vocal minority who have taken the things I've said and are pretending to be absolutely and utterly devastated by them for some reason.
Yeah, I'll see what your response.
That's the first thing. Yeah, it is nothing to do with me. The fact that a 14-year-old girl took her life is truly sad. The world we live in today is the world we live in. The fact that something like that happened is almost mind-blowing to me. That's truly sad. I actually feel sad inside to see something like that. This fact that, and I became world champion for the first time.
How was that for you?
It was good, but I don't ever feel like I'm satisfied. I never won the world title and go, yes, I'm the champ now. It's just like, okay, next. I was kind of always like that. I always had these aspirations. I've always kind of felt, without sounding like a crazy conspiracy theorist, even now to this day, I feel, maybe, correct me, you're a smart man, so maybe this will make sense to you. Do you ever look around you and just look at the world and feel kind of like we're in the Matrix, like there's something missing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's just you feel it in your gut.
Yeah, something isn't right here. Everything just seems so superficial, and I don't know. I was always looking for this secret. I was always looking for, I wouldn't say happiness or contentment, but I was always looking to try and break out of the 9 to 5, just the normal monotony of day-to-day life. And for a long time, I thought fighting was my way out. I don't know what I was trying to get to. I don't know where it was going to lead. But when I just look at the normal life a lot of people live, that is just absolutely depressing to me.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing it. I'm not shitting on the normal guy. I'm saying you're a stronger man than me. Because if I was a normal dude working in Starbucks, bro, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that day to day. I literally could not do that. And I thought fighting will make sure I never have to do that, if that makes sense.
Did you ever find this sense of completion while you winning world titles, or were you still unsatisfied?
There's always someone new to beat up, right?
Yeah.
And then even then, I'm dedicating all my time to fighting, which is actually the reason I retired. I retired for 4 years. I came back last year and I fought 3 times. But I actually retired because one day I woke up and I looked at my life and I thought, I'm giving 7 hours a day to fighting. If I were to put 7 hours a day into something else, what else could I achieve? Because I had a little bit of money from fighting, but I wasn't balling. I wasn't rich. And I thought, what's the point in being the world champion if I can't buy Lambos on the debit card, right? What's the point? So then I thought, well, I want to be rich now. So that's actually the reason I retired. So I was always chasing other things. And then now I've got money, I want to fight again. I'm never happy, bro. This is how it goes, right? You're always chasing something else. But I do feel like to a degree, I have at least partially escaped the matrix I used to be talking about. I kind of feel like I've started to escape. And Corona, as much as it's been a headache for everybody, has helped me realize how fortunate I am in my position. To when everyone else is locked down, I can just get on a private jet and go where I want, right? So that it's kind of cool when they go, there's no flights. I'm like, not for you. There's flights for me, bro. So it's kind of, I felt like I've semi-escaped. So I've kind of gone, yes, let's talk about the webcam business.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the story. So for anyone watching this who doesn't know my story, I'm fighting. I became 4-time world champion. I was 28 when I won my 4th world title. And one day I woke up and I literally just woke up. I looked at my bank. I just won a world title fight, but I hadn't fought in 6 months. By the time I paid all my back rent and paid my car payments, all that, I looked at my bank. I had like $3,000, $4,000 in there. And I'm like, I'm giving up my entire life and I don't even know how I'm going to live. I need to get rich. I want to get rich. So I said to my coach, look, I'm going to take a couple months off and I'm going to focus purely on money. And the story is, and this is a completely true story, I'm sitting with my brother and I'm like, how can we get rich? You know what's amazing? Now I have money. Lots of people always ask me, how do I get rich? And I say, when's the last time you talked about money? When's the last time you sat down with your friends and refused to talk about anything else but how to make money? How are you making money? How are you making money? How am I making money? How can we make money together? How's that guy making money? How's that coffee shop there making money? Is that coffee shop making money? I don't know. Do they sell cake? No. Why don't they sell cake? Everyone in here is a businessman. If they had a cute young waitress, a girl, instead of a guy, they'd probably sell more coffee. Like, no one analyzes anything. They just want to get rich, right? I want to be rich, but they have no plan to get rich. And a hope and a plan are very different things. I explain this to people all the time. Everyone has a dream, but no one has a plan. And nothing good is going to happen on accident, right? I didn't become world champion on accident. I didn't wake up and someone go, how'd you become world champion? And I went, oops, you have to plan for it. So I said to Tristan, we need to discuss money. We need to plan this and we need to work out a way we can get rich. And that's when I started analyzing and understanding banks and the credit system and the money system, how the world actually works. And then I got really pissed off because I realized that money isn't real and it's all a scam. And the banks are destroying us in real time with inflation. And I still don't have any. So I was really mad. And I'm writing down, I was watching some YouTube videos like financial advice and we're talking about assets, liabilities, etc. And I'm writing down all my assets. And I'm trying to work out what I have that's worth money. And the only thing I writ down, because I had a car, but what's that worth? Nothing. I'm big and strong, but I'm already fighting. I can't think of anything else to do with that. The only thing I had was, because I'd been fighting all around the world, I had these 6 girlfriends, right? Because you'd win the world title, you're a ring girl, she falls in love with you, you're the big millionaire in London, of course, she thinks you live in the balling life, you're in some tiny apartment with the door locked. So I had these girlfriends, and I thought, well, I can't open a strip club. It costs money to open a strip club. And I'm kind of racking my brain, and by absolute coincidence, I'm going around the internet, and I saw in the corner, Talk to Live Girls Now. And I'd never in my life, I was never a porn guy. I've never been watching porn or clicking on these things. And I said, Talk to Live Girls. So I clicked on it, and there's some chick there on a computer, like, hi, and I was like, my girls can do that. So that was the very beginning. That was the eureka moment. And I walked into my brother's bedroom, and I said, we're going to start a webcam company. Yeah, so, and this is the thing that's interesting about it, because when people hear this story and they say like a pimp, etc., people imagine me to be this exploitive, horrible, evil man, which is absolutely and utterly the complete opposite. I'm not trying to convince the internet I'm a nice guy, right? Because I don't give a shit. I'm just telling the truth. So the beginning of it was I messaged my 6 girlfriends and told them they're all coming to live with me, and I had a job for them in London. 2 of them wouldn't come, 4 of them agreed. I was like, we're going to make money, a bunch of money. You're going to live with me, blah, blah, blah. We're going to live the dream. Right now, I'm in between apartments, so I'm in this shitty apartment, because kickboxing's not boxing, bro. You're not making millions like the boxers are. So the 4 girls flew in. I sat them all down at a table. They're all like, who's this chick? Who's this chick? Told them all the truth. I just straight sat there. Just sat there and said, listen, I've been with you all. I'm starting a webcam business. I'm going to get rich. Some of you are going to come with me to the top of the mountain, or if you're pissed off, you can fly home. Just very matter of fact to the point, because I needed money. At this point, now I have not agreed to take another fight. I need money now. So 2 of them left. 2 of them agreed to stay. And the beginning of my cam empire was this tiny little apartment, me and my 2 girlfriends living in this house, right? And they went on cam together as a duo, as a team, to start making money. And that was the beginning of it. And the interesting thing about it was these girls were so inept from a business perspective. Like, they were very beautiful. And they're nice girls, so can't say anything bad about them, but they were not, women do not have a business mind. So they'd sit on webcam, right? And an old dude would sit there. And the old dude would say, what kind of guy do you like? And they'd say, oh, I don't know, someone in shape who's rich and young. And I'd be like, no,
He's an old dude. You have to say, I'm tired of these young guys messing me around. I need an older guy who's ready to settle down. I don't care if he has money as long as he'll take care of me. Da-da. If he's a young guy, you say, I'm tired of these old guys perving on me. You need to sell the dream. So I'm training these girls. And it got to the point where it was easier if I just typed myself. So what we ended up doing was we had the two girls on camera with a keyboard, which wasn't plugged in, doing this. And then I was behind the screen talking to the dudes, saying the right things, and start dragging money out the internet. And for me, I mean, this is a long time ago, right? This is about, how old am I now? I'm 34, so I was about 28. So about 6, 7, maybe 8 years ago, right? And making money online nowadays is far more popular than it was even 8 years ago. Who do you know 8 years ago who made money from YouTube or from online?
Yeah,
nobody.
It's just booming. It's just starting.
It's just starting. So the 4 girls flew in. I sat them all down at a table. They're all like, who's this chick? Who's this chick? Told them all the truth. I just straight sat there and said, listen, I've been with you all. I'm starting a webcam business. I'm going to get rich. Some of you are going to come with me to the top of the mountain, or if you're pissed off, you can fly home. So a woman can't go around people and pretend it's the same as a man running around people. It's absolutely not the same. A man can only cheat if he loves someone else. If I have a woman who I truly love and I go out and I come back to her and I don't care about her and I only love my girl, that's not cheating. That's exercise. If she even talks to a dude, it's cheating, because females are emotionally invested. I have no emotional investment. So no, I'm making this very, very clear. Any woman who was with me never even, the only men they spoke to besides me were my brother, and the guys online who were paying them. That is it. They were absolutely loyal to me. And if they weren't, they got fired. And any feminist will disagree with me, but I'll tell you something. Women are loyal to one thing on the planet. And the only thing they're loyal to is the man they want to have sex with. So every time there was a girl who I wasn't sleeping with, she never lasted long. So then I had these 4 big premises, all these overheads, all these managers that got out of control. So I cut down to like a special forces team of around 8 girls. And that's where I made my most money. When I had 4 girlfriends, my brother had 4 girlfriends, me, my brother, 8 women living in one house. And all the women adored us and they obeyed us. And at the peak, I was turning over 400 grand a month. Only an English or an American girl is stupid enough to be a hoe for free. Because over here, they'll be a hoe because they were drunk. They'll just be a hoe because they're dumb. Oh, I slept with a bunch of men. Oh, he was funny, so he jizzed on me. Like, they're just idiots. In Eastern Europe, they're far too intelligent for that. They understand that the number one commodity a female has is beauty. And if they're born with it, they're not going to waste it going out getting hammered and banging Joe whoever. They're not going to do that. They're not stupid like that. So Western girls are extremely easy to sleep with compared to Eastern European women. This is going to really piss the feminists off, but I'll tell you, it's the truth. It doesn't matter whether a woman wants to be a lawyer or a housemaker or a webcam girl. Unless she has a man directing her, she's going to fuck it up. They're just not built to be completely independent creatures. The women who go, I'm strong and independent. You're working for a man in a company and you're getting by 10 men a month. You're not independent. It's just a lie. It's a lie. You're just undesirable. That's what you are. There's no such thing as an independent female. They're all relying on a man to some degree. Maybe I'm completely crazy. Maybe I'm full of shit, like you said.
Girlfriends, 8 girlfriends.
You're making my life sound very, very interesting. You're making my life sound good. Yeah, I do okay, man. I do okay. I just try and live as close as I can to my masculine imperative without hiding who I want to be or what I want to do or letting society program me. And I think if you give a man true free reign, completely be who you want to be, and you don't let society program you, he's going to drive a fast car, he's going to have a bunch of women, he's going to want to have a bunch of money, he's going to do whatever he wants, right? We all want to be free. So I try my very best to be free.
What is free to you?
That's a good question. And especially in the modern political climate with all this corona, et cetera, I think freedom is being destroyed in real time. Even before corona, freedom is being destroyed. If you look at even very basic things, right? Like freedom of speech. If a man isn't free to say what he thinks in the way he wants to say it, if political correctness or hate speech or whatever, if a man can't even express himself the way he thinks it, is he free? You know? And what they do first is they restrict your speech, because if they restrict your speech, then they can start to restrict your thoughts. If you're not allowed to ever say it, then you're probably not going to think it so often. This is why it's done on purpose. So I don't think that society is very free at all. And I think that in regards to keeping our employment, keeping our money coming in, making sure we don't lose our social medias, every single person has to censor themselves to some degree. And I try very, very best to skirt that line, as far as possible. So I feel free. Freedom is the ability to scream when you want to scream, be angry when you want to be angry, smile when you want to smile, say what you want, do what you want. And that's a very, very rare commodity in the modern world. That's extremely rare. So that's what I would consider free. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I am half English, half American. My father was in the Air Force. He was based at Chick Sands in the UK. He met my mother.
They were fortunate enough to have this perfect child you see in front of you. I have a brother and a sister. We moved back to America, and I lived the first 10 years of my life in the United States. And my father was a chess master. That was his job. After he retired from the Air Force, he was a professional chess player. So I grew up around professional chess players, which is kind of an unusual climate to grow up in, because you're growing up around all these ultra intelligent, semi-autistic, they're weirdos, right? You can't be that good at chess and be normal, right? They're like human calculators. They're all a bit strange. And you have ex-KGB members and like math nerds, and it's just a very weird kind of climate. And my father was a chess master, but my father was very unique because my father was also a professional wrestler and had physicality. So you have like a bunch of dorks. Then you have my dad, this big black dude, and he's like competing in the chess world. So I grew up in a very kind of strange world, and I was a professional chess player. I was on my path to being a professional chess player. At the age of 5, I was the state chess champion for Indiana, and I was the best ranked player under the age of 10, and I was on my way. So I played chess for the early part of my life, and then at the age of 11, my mother and father split up. My mom took me back to Luton. Great place. Lovely. Mm-hmm. So from the age of 11, I grew up in Luton. So that's the very beginning of the story. And a lot's happened between now and then, and here I am. Yeah, that's a good question. And a lot of people talk about how stressful it was that their parents broke up. And I mean, obviously I was very, very young. I don't think I was necessarily too upset by it. You know, I was still, my father was very realistic with me, and he said, look, I'm still going to see you, but you're going to England. It is what it is. So I don't think I was particularly upset by it. I definitely wouldn't say I was traumatized by it, but it did alter my life trajectory because I lost my chess coach. Up until then, I played chess 3-4 hours a day. It's all I did was chess, chess, chess. When we left, not only is there no chess scene in England like there's in America. In America, there's lots of chess in the schools and these kind of things. There's no chess scene, plus I had no coach. So for a while, I was kind of lost, I would say. I had 4 hours free a day that I never used to previously have. And I mean, I didn't get into too much trouble or too much mischief, but I was certainly a bit, how can I replace this thing I used to do all of the time?
What did you replace it with?
I ended up replacing it with fighting.
Yeah, from a young age?
From around about 15, 16, I started kickboxing. And I think that fighting and chess are extremely similar. To me, they aligned. They fulfilled the same gaps in my psyche, right? People always say, how did you go from being a chess player, which everyone sees as geeky, to a kickboxer? And I said, well, chess is one-on-one battle, right? That's all it is. There's no luck involved. There's no team. There's no wind that can blow the ball. There's no, it's one-on-one. It's a fight. If you lose, you messed up. And fighting feels the same for me. So for me, I thought, well, okay, I can't learn chess well enough without a coach. And I can't find a coach in the UK who I trust to teach me chess, but I can find a coach who can teach me to kick people's ass. So that's kind of how it started.
How did you end up going through the ranks and winning world titles?
Fighting's kind of weird, right? I think if you talk to any fighter, everyone who starts, I mean, lots of people say they had aspirations of being the world title or the world champion at the beginning. I just turned up to training one step at a time, right? I just wanted to be good. So my coach said, you have to train 7 times a week. I was like, okay. So I just obeyed. I was just a worker ant. I just did as I was told. And then you win, and you win again, and you win again, and you get a title shot, you win, and before you know it, you get up there. My first ever world title fight was on 3 days' notice. So someone pulled out, and I had 3 days' notice. I had to lose 9 kilo in 3 days. I turned up, obviously was completely destroyed from the weight cut. Everyone expected me to lose. And I won. But they gave and I'll say I won because I did win. They gave the decision to the other guy. It was in France, and it was in Paris, and it was me against the French world champion. They gave it to him. But I whooped his ass, right? And we submitted the video to the ISKA, the organization, and they demanded a rematch because it was so obvious I won. And we fought again, and without the big weight cut problem, I knocked him out in the 8th.
You know, violence is a very different thing. And women don't understand the difference between fighting and pure violence. And they also, you're completely right, they don't understand the true physical difference between a man and a woman. Yeah. All this female self-defense, I can fight too, it's all bullshit. It's complete garbage. A man who's genuinely enraged, you don't stand a chance. I'm sorry, the best thing you can do is scream and run. I'll tell you another example.
Even a teenage boy.
Oh, no, you don't stand a chance.
Destroy a grown woman.
I had a girl who did self-defense classes. This is like a couple years ago. And she goes, oh, you're a kickboxer. I want to show you like my self-defense. And if you grab me, I do this, I do this, I do this. I said, listen, bitch, if I grab you and you start trying to be a little ninja, what I'm going to do is I'm going to smash you. Whack, 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 whack. Done. Now your whole face is busted. Like you're forgetting the part of the equation where I just beat you up for like 3 seconds and you're done. Now drag your ass to the bushes. What the f are you talking about? It's garbage, man. Give you another example of a guy I saw get up because of his chick. was outside a club in England. And one more thing for the American guys watching this. Anyone who thinks England's like, you know, nice suits and little posh people. England's violent.
Very dangerous.
Very,
very dangerous.
I would actually say, although you have guns here, I'd say the mentality as a whole is more dangerous there. People are about it. They're just a crazy island, and they always have been. So it's a very dangerous place. Yeah.
Chef G.
Yeah. I've been missing here. I don't know if you can zoom in. My finger came off from a blade.
Oh, shit.
All the way off. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a long story. I was walking to a car late at night. I was arguing with the, I don't know if you can see the scar there. Had to be sewn back on.
God damn.
So I'm mixing stories now, but yeah, I had arguments with the guy by text. He stopped replying. 2 days later, as I walked to my car at night, they tried to kill me. And that also shows a lot about intent, right? Because with intent, they don't threaten. That shows you how, you know, I was arguing with the guy and he goes, all right, just stop replying. And that shows true intent because he tried to kill me. That's another story I can't say on Fresh and Fit, but I saw a dude get knocked out again. Even when women have the best intentions, they're a liability. I saw a guy outside a nightclub. He's arguing with another guy. His chick's in the way going, leave it, stop, don't do it, be in the way, being an idiot. Anyway, she grabs her guy, like, oh, stop, holds onto his right arm. Stop, boom, he gets knocked out. You're holding on your dude's arm. How else is he gonna fight? Even if you don't want him to fight, you're just gonna hold on his arm saying stop, and let him get sparked. I tell my chicks all the time, if we're walking down the street and any kind of altercation comes, run and scream off. You're no good to me next to me. You're no good to me in between. You're no good to me next to me. You're no good to me shouting stop. You're no good to me holding on to me. Just off. Run over there and scream and get somebody else. And leave it to me. Even if there's 100 of them, leave me by myself. Because these chicks will get you up, especially the ones who aren't trained. And even if they have the best intentions, if they panic, what are they going to do? They're going to grab you. Because you're their man, right? They're going to stop you from being able to fight.
Yeah.
They're a liability. Dudes, you're walking out here with chicks and they're untrained. At least my chicks are trained. I literally will sit down with girls and say, look, if something goes off, especially where I live in the world, Romania, these kind of countries, if something goes off, run and scream. Should I tell you the story quickly?
Yeah, tell us the story on that one.
All right. So I'm with my dad. My dad's a chess player, but he's also like a park hustler, right? So like he'd go to the parks and play chess against the other chess guys to make quick money. So we'd go in there and offer them ridiculous odds, like 3-1, 4-1, and give them more time, whatever. And he'd sit down at the park and he'd bust them up. My dad was really good at chess, but he was ultra aggressive. So like grandmasters hated playing him. A few times he lost spectacularly because he went too hard, but there's some few times he had crushing victories, like just wrecked a grandmaster because he just went completely all out defenseless. He was like an attacking player.
Damn.
So I remember I was about 8 years old. I told this story on my Tate speech, my YouTube channel. I was about 8 years old.
Yeah, I read it and I was like, that's definitely your father's speech.
Yeah. I was about 8 years old. And my dad, even when he was still alive, because I only speak English, right? Even though I live in Romania. And I said to my dad, do you think I should learn another language? And he turned to me and said, you don't even speak English. And what he meant is most people don't even have a grasp of the English language. Think how many words are in English you don't even know. Right? So what he was saying to me is you don't need to learn anything else, you need to learn English, which was funny. But my father spoke a very particular brand of English, and that's what this story's about. So it was Detroit, it was 3 a.m. We were in a gas station. I was walking around. I remember looking at the Cheetos. I'm 8, who doesn't like Cheetos? And I heard an altercation near the front of the till. I heard like some scuffling, etc. I don't know what exactly happened, but I came to the front and my dad was getting jumped by 4 Mexican guys. Right? So they're hitting him, bang, bang. One of them got a bottle. Start smashing him, they're beating the shit out of him. Even as my dad was getting his ass kicked, I'm 8, I'm standing there just frozen. As he was getting his ass kicked, he turned to me and I remember he growled at me and he went, run, to me as he was getting beaten, right? He managed to get one of them and hold him tight and must have bit in his face or whatever he bit, he had flesh in his mouth by the time the whole thing was done, right? So he bit something off. So there's blood everywhere. Anyway, the shopkeeper starts screaming, so he's going to call the police. It kind of starts tussling, goes half outside. My dad manages to stay inside. The Mexican guys run off. My dad's covered in blood. His head's cut. He bit the guy's lip off. So there's blood all down the face of him. He's absolutely covered in blood. He's drenched in blood. And I'm standing by the drinks cabinet, still just standing there. So he told me to run. So we're running to 7-Eleven. So I'm just standing by the drinks cabinet. He said, son. So I came over there. And my dad's standing there. He's talking to the shopkeeper. The shopkeeper was Korean, saying, it wasn't your fault, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, police come. And the police look through the CCTV, they see that my dad fought all these guys off. And the police officer said, so what's your job? What do you do? And he was taking the statement. My dad said, I'm a chess player. And the police officer said, chess player? Maybe you should be something else. And my dad replied, my unmatched perspicacity, coupled with sheer indefatigability, makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. Right in the report. But what my dad was saying, unmatched perspicacity. Perspicacity is the ability to perceive. right? Perception. My unmatched perception. Indefatigability is the inability to become tired. So he's saying I have unmatched perception and I never become tired. And that's why I'm a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. And I remember that quote from when I was 8 years old. Wow. That's a badass way to talk. I'm jealous to this day. Damn. People think I'm good on my podcast. That's how my dad just spoke through life. He's just been rattled to the brain. And that's how he gives a police report. Like, my unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. Yeah. Man. So when I was a child, I was playing chess all the time with my father. I was the state chess champion of Indiana. I was on my way to become a grandmaster. And then when my mother and father decided to break up, we decided to move back to England because England has a social housing program, right? In America, you're broke. But in England, you can get a house, you get a bit of food, that kind of stuff. It's actually kind of crazy, not to get political, but Americans, especially the conservatives, are constantly harping on about, we don't want this to become a socialist country. And they call Europe socialist countries. But the tax rate in England is about the same as here. Wow. And there you get free health care, a free house if you're broke. What do they give you in America? Nothing. They're too busy bombing countries. Stupid. So so we moved back over there. My dad.
Andrew is American for you guys that are
I'm American.
Yeah. He's American and he's British, guys.
Yeah, so I'm half. So my dad stayed here in America, so I lost my chess coach. And it's hard to stay dedicated and stay good without a coach, right? So for a long time, I played a bit of chess. I did a little bit back and forth, etc. And when I realized I needed probably 13, 14, I was missing all that time I spent playing chess. I was looking for something that was similar, and I ended up choosing fighting. I started with karate. I got a black belt in Shotokan, and I moved on to kickboxing, and I fought K1, and I've had MMA fights as well. So to me, they're very, very similar. They're one-on-one. There's no luck involved. I didn't want a team sport, because in a team sport, you can have a bad day, still win, a good day, still lose. No, I want it all on the line, right? I didn't want a sport with any luck. That's the thing about chess. It doesn't matter how well you played. It doesn't matter how nearly perfect the game was. If you lost, at some point, you made a mistake. Even if you can't identify it, at some point, you have made a mistake. And that's a fantastic metaphor for life as well. Because there's so many people out here who don't take responsibility, and they'll come along and go, well, COVID happened, that's why I lost all my money. No, I don't buy that. I don't give a shit what happened. At some point, you did not diversify, you did not prepare yourself, you made a mistake.
I think heartbreak is designed to teach you lessons. I think everything bad that happens to you as a man is designed to teach you lessons. I think that's why God gives them to you. You're never going to be a good man unless you've suffered. Good men have been through a lot of bad things, and you have to realize why she left or why your heart is broken so that you can change certain things and grow. I think that the worst men on earth are the ones who haven't had enough pain. You're supposed to suffer as a man. You're born to suffer. The whole reason God put men on this planet is to suffer. And the best men are the ones who suffered the most. I wouldn't be top G if I didn't suffer more than anyone else. You're a better man than everyone else if your life was a mess and it was a hardship, because you're not what happens to you. You are how you react to it. And the best men on earth are men who have had their parents die, their best friends betray them, their girl betray them, thrown in jail, their money stolen, stabbed, robbed. And every time something happened to them, they sat there and they looked in the mirror and said, what can I learn from this? How can I stop this happening? Those are the best men. Those are the men respect. Those are the men women want. Why do women love scars? Look, they tried to kill him and they can't. That's why I want him. The best men suffered. You find a man who's never been through suffering and nobody gives a shit about him. Men don't like him and women don't like him. Men are no good without it. If you're an intelligent person and you crash your car, you sit and say, how did this happen? Was I driving too fast? No. Whose fault was it? Well, an amateur will say it's their fault. They came speeding out at me. But a professional will say, no, they came speeding out at me. Why couldn't I avoid them? Why couldn't I move? Why didn't I see it? Why am I on this road in the first place? Like, a professional analyzes everything from a position of what they could do about it, having control over all things. And it's the same with heartbreak. If you ask an amateur why his heart's broken, well, she left me because of blah, blah, and he'll just blame her like a dumbass. She's arrogant. She doesn't listen to me. Her friends convinced her to cheat. She wants this, that, instead of saying, I don't have what it takes to keep her. I don't have what it takes to talk in a way that makes her not want to listen to her friends. I'm not important. So if you self-analyze everything, then everything happens for the same reason. No matter what bad thing happens to you, including heartbreak, it all happens for the same reason, for you to analyze and get feedback. If you were more important and more successful, she was less likely to leave you. That's the truth. The thing about life is you become a better person via feedback. You don't ever become a better person via anything else, especially not practice. People say practice makes perfect, and that's the biggest mistake, because it's not true. Because I often get asked, Andrew, how do you speak the way you speak? And I say, well, feedback. And they say, well, you've practiced, right? Well, everyone practices how to talk. There's people who've been alive 30 years longer than me, who've been practicing to speak longer than I have, who don't speak the way I speak, for example. It's just an example. You have to feedback. You have to watch yourself talk. You have to see where you've made mistakes. You have to see where you say, like. You have to remove it consciously. You need feedback to improve. So if a woman left you, that's feedback. Learn the lessons and make sure it doesn't happen again. Or sit and blame her and pretend it's nothing to do with you and then wait for it to happen to you again, because it will. That's how life works. Like, feedback I got from jail or my father dying or heartbreak or being stabbed or whatever it is, all of these things happen for you to learn from them. And everybody in life has these events and everybody in life has these traumas they can learn from, but most people are too stupid or too arrogant or too cowardly to sit down, blame themselves, look in the mirror, analyze the entire situation as if it was their fault, and see what they can do to prevent it from happening again. If I get wet in the rain, I blame myself. Why didn't I bring an umbrella? Why was I outside? Why was the car not nearer? Why didn't I check the weather? It's all me. Whereas the average person goes, why are you wet? It rained. And it's not their fault because the sky rains. It's not my fault. I can't stop the sky raining. Whereas I believe I could have stopped myself getting wet even if I can't stop the rain. It's a mentality.
Heartbreak teaches you the power of understanding that in life, things will always get better if you try to make them better. There were girls who I dated when you were still a baby. So let's say I was 20 years old. And she was 19 years old, I was 20 years old, and we broke up for whatever reasons. This particular girl got some job where she had to move to London. And I was upset about it. If the heartbreak had never happened, well, I'd be that guy. I'd be with her now. I wouldn't have done all the great things that I've done. Heartbreak sucks. And you do have to deal with it. And again, know when to walk away without begging or humiliating yourself, especially in this day and age of DMs and messages being recorded and stuff. And each heartbreak, like with every bad event that happens in life, sets an important marker that you eventually look back on a longer timeline, and you see the growth and the self-improvement and maybe the hypothetical scenarios that would have happened had you stayed with that person or had you not been betrayed by that person. And yeah, it serves as very important markers on a timeline, but it's only once you progress a couple years past that timeline that you could see the knowledge in it, unless you do it the wrong way and let it spiral you to down the toilet of self-destruction, in which case then you're like, oh, well, that's when my life went completely wrong. So no, that's when you chose to give up. They're two very different things. But heartbreak's fantastic. I wish my heart could still be broken. That would be nice. Well, men live for women. This is the point. Men live for women in every single way. If women didn't exist on this planet, everything about my life would be different. I'd have fast cars because I like driving. But a lot of the things that men do, a lot of the things we say, the way you dress, lots of it is about trying to attract women, trying to impress women, and trying to have women hold you in a high regard. Because if women in general hold you in a high regard, then you as a high value man have your pick of the best women on the planet. And there isn't a single red-blooded male out there in the world who doesn't like the idea of lots of different women being attracted to him. Even if he's got his wife and he's in love and it's the first girl he's ever been with and he's, I don't know, a Mormon or a Muslim or a Christian who's super involved. If you were to ask him, would you like to be unattractive to women or attractive to women just in general? He'd say attractive because it raises the impression people have of his wife, for example. So there's not a single man in the world who doesn't live for women in one way or another.
Women teach you a lot about how to get women, which is actually quite interesting. Like, they do. Women teach you a lot about how to get women themselves. If you want to piss a woman off, ignore her. Don't insult her. Just don't reply. And you should know that, because when did a woman annoy you most? She ignored you. That's right. So like, you can learn so much from them, but women are the prize, effectively. Sexual access or access to sexuality has always been a prize for men that effectively had to be earned. You had to go to war and come back with a Valor Star, or you had to be a king or something to get access to sexuality. So women were the prize up until a certain point, and then if you're a high value enough man, you could say you become the prize, blah, blah. But effectively, women are a fantastic mirror, and how women treat you tell you a lot about yourself, because women are ruthless. And if they don't see value in you, or if they don't see value they can extract from you, you're invisible to them. You know, you can go to a nice restaurant with a girl and you can say, how many men are in here? And she'll say, 3 or 4. And she'll ignore every waiter. If they can't get something from you, you're invisible.
So how women treat you in general is a good mark for how much value you openly exude. If they can instantly see value on you, they'll talk to you and treat you a certain way. People think that beautiful women are really bitchy and rude. No, they're not. They're actually very nice and soft and sweet. They're actually quite shy and insecure if you're that guy. But if you're not that guy, they're like, get away from me. Because they don't even want to bother having a conversation on any level because you don't exude enough value. So women are a mirror. They'll tell you everything you need to know about yourself. And you should pay attention to it and you should change it.
No one is ever going to give a shit about you, even 1% as much as you have to give a shit about yourself. No one cares. No one cares about you if you're a man, ever. Everything is conditional. You don't get loved unconditionally. And that's a beautiful thing because that makes you strive to create your own value as a man. And the problem that men have is we all go from a time when everyone cares about us to a time no one does. Women don't lose it until they're maybe 45 and childless. Then they'll be like, oh, what the fuck's going on? Now she understands what it's like to become a 15, 16, 17-year-old man. Because we've gone through the stage. I remember my aunts and uncles, hey, little Tristan, I remember, they all cared about me back then. Then you get to 16, 17, 18, you're out in the cold world and you're like, no one gets to do that. I can't pay my bills. I have no food. Nobody cares. Yeah, your mother and your father will care a little bit, but you have to care about them. So I'd say the duty of protection is the other way around once you become an adult, and you have to care about yourself. So the best advice I can give to anyone, especially the young men who are 13, 14, 15, who, are sitting in their room playing video games and their mother's still bringing them sandwiches, if she continues to care about you that much and you lean on it, you're going to be a nobody. And if she says, okay, you're 18 now, get out of my house, you're going to be a nobody until you make something of yourself. So the best advice every young man needs to hear is nobody gives a shit about you at all until you make them give a shit. People give a shit about me and Andrew now. Why? Would you have given a shit about me if I just stayed in my room playing video games from age 18 till now? No, you wouldn't know who I was.
As a man, if you truly care about the world, you need to improve yourself first, because as a man, if you're not capable, your love means nothing anyway, right? You can say I'm a man and I love my dog, but if you can't feed that dog and you can't home that dog and you can't afford to take that dog to the vet and you can't protect that dog, then your love means nothing. Your love as a man is directly correlated to your competence and your capabilities. So when a man who is capable loves you, it means something. A man who's incapable loves you, it means nothing at all. So if you're incapable, not necessarily important, not necessarily financially successful person, it doesn't matter what you feel about anything because you could be replaced and nobody gives a shit. So if you truly care about that, I guess the lesson is if you truly care about an issue as a man, the first thing you should do is you should improve yourself. If you have a woman who you truly love, instead of buying her flowers every day, you should improve yourself. If you have a town that you truly love, instead of, I don't know what you would do, instead of telling everyone how great it is, you should improve yourself and you should start a business in that town so that there's more jobs in that town. It doesn't matter what it is. Self-improvement is the answer to showing your love for anything as a man. So when I see people say, oh yeah, I really love my girlfriend or whatever, and then I look at the guy, I say, no, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't be sleeping so long. You wouldn't be so insignificant. You'd be trying harder in some way. You'd be doing something. You're not doing anything. If you're not doing anything, you don't love anybody.
I would say to all the young men out there who see me as a source of inspiration, motivation, knowledge, I'd again say something similar than I said to my brother. I'd say if I exist or not, if I speak or not, if I do podcasts, if you hear my voice, it doesn't matter. You can do all of this without me as a source of motivation. Everything I've tried to say to you and everything I've tried to tell you, I've meant it because I care about not you personally, but the way that men are perceived in this world and the way men carry themselves in this world. And if you are a true fan of mine, don't get angry, don't go nuts, don't burn anything down. Don't let this become a moment in your life that spirals you down that toilet of self-destruction. You don't need me, and you can do this anyway. Best of luck.
Is happiness the purpose of life?
No, absolutely and utterly not. The purpose of life is to be competent and successful. If you try and base your life and your mentality purely around how happy you are, you'll end up hedonistic and destroyed.
I think that as a man, your happiness comes from feeling respected over feeling loved. And the reason perhaps you're happy now is because you have more respect for yourself because of the decisions you're making. And you have self-respect.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of men, even if they have self-respect, if nobody else respects them, they're struggling.
I have no interest in being happy. I wake up and say, how can I be proud of myself? What can I achieve that makes me proud of myself? How can I do things that make other people respect me and are proud of me? How do I have a day which I complete when I come home? The woman who's in my house says, wow, there's no man like you. How do I live a life so my children look at me and go, Dad's a superhero?
How do I make my mother call me and say, I couldn't possibly be more proud of you? I have duties to complete. I have to live the exact same life regardless of how I feel. So for me, happiness is not a good indicator on how life should be lived.
Happiness to me is a super interesting concept because when people come to me and say, I'm not happy, I say, why should you be happy? They're like, what do you mean? It's like, who told you should be happy all the time without working for it? Happiness is at the top of a mountain somewhere. You ain't been anywhere. You haven't even climbed it.
Nobody cares about men being happy. We talk about women being happy. We want children to be happy. If you look at a full-grown man on Christmas morning, he's smiling because his wife is smiling. He's smiling because his children are smiling. Nobody even buys him anything. What do they buy the dad? Socks? Nobody cares about men being happy. So why do you as a man care about you being happy? That's how you're going to fall into these traps. I'm a very content person. I live a fantastic life. I'm not miserable or depressed. I'm not sad ever, but I don't wake up and go, I want to be happy today. No, sir. I wake up and say, okay, things must be done. And those things will be completed regardless of how I feel. Regardless of how I feel. You can lock me in a dungeon for an unknown amount of time in Romania, and I will still complete as many push-ups as I can possibly do in the dark by myself. What else am I going to do? Sit there and be sad? Happy or sad? The push-ups must be done. It's called duty. It's called honor. It's called pride. So I'm asking you why you don't have them. You could be a genuine force for good in the world. And you know what's funny? The funniest thing, the most ironic thing about all of this is that if you don't prioritize happiness and you prioritize feeling proud of yourself, you end up happy by extension. I'm happy because I'm proud of myself because I have a fantastic life and mansions and supercars and money, most famous man in the world, thousands of love letters a week from beautiful women. Of course I'm happy, but I didn't ever choose to try and be happy. If I would have chosen to try and be happy, I would have never ended up happy.
I don't want a woman to ever go through anything bad in her life. I think a man should go through it for her and protect her, because I think that's how she's her best self as a woman. But I think to be your best self as a man is the absolute opposite. And when someone emails me and says, this has happened to me, I'm like, good. No, what do you mean good? It's terrible. How else are you going to become important? How else are you going to find endless fire to get up and struggle in the face of the competition that's out here in the world? How else are you're going to do all that with a nice, cushy life? If any man's honest with himself, think about the biggest transformative stages in your life. Think about the times you got the most work done. It was a bad part of your life. You were heartbroken, or, you lost a house, or broke, or whatever. That's when you did shit. When everything was fine, the mortgage is paid, dinner's on time, it's kind of doop-de-doop-de-doo, little by little, do a little bit of work, do a little bit of relax. But the big events come from trauma. This is it. So it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code to climb the mountain. So when I get a message from whoever and he goes, my wife left me, I'm devastated. I say, I understand. I completely understand how hard it can be to lose a woman that you've given your entire life to. And you've done so many nice things. And then because of one thing you did, her innate and absolutely insane level of ungratefulness has turned her bitter, and she now talks to you like she hates you over one thing you've done after thousands of efforts showing how dedicated you are to her. And even now that you're prepared to die for her, she doesn't give a shit about you. I understand that pain. But my answer is, good, it's still good. Now take all of that pain, and instead of emailing me, do this. And then you're going to become the kind of person that women don't leave. Then you win. I think everybody on the planet has something to prove. If you walk through life and feel like you have nothing to prove, then you're a loser. If you wake up each day and go, I don't owe anybody anything, I don't have to prove anything to anybody, then you are a loser, because you are absolutely not incorrect. You must prove yourself to other people. You must prove yourself to your bloodline, as we just discussed. You must prove yourself to God. God hates the lazy. He can't stand them. If he gives you all these genetic dispositions and these natural God-given gifts, if you have 2 arms and 2 legs and you can think, and you're not trying your absolute best, that's the reason you're not lucky. He doesn't like you. He likes the people which show him the beauty of his own creation. He likes to give somebody building blocks and them to build something amazing. It's the best thing about being a man. You have to build who you are, right? You can decide if you want to be a funny comedian or a musician or a kickboxing world champion or fight the Matrix. You can decide whatever you want to be. God loves to see that. Those people, for some reason, seem to be enormously lucky, right? The person who goes, I don't have to prove anything to God. I don't owe all of my ancestors any effort. For 5,000 years, people were dodging saber-toothed tigers and catching the plague and running from Genghis Khan. I don't owe them anything. Don't owe them a thing, because I want to play video games. These people are losers. I wake up every day with something to prove. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm in fantastic shape, 4 times world champion, fighting the Matrix out here by myself, more.
I will have to be braver. I must try harder. All I do is prove myself. So when I hear people go, I don't have nothing to prove, then you're a loser. Peasants have never felt like they needed to prove anything. But kings felt like they needed to go and conquer land. Isn't that it's coincidental that the king, who already had it all, felt like he needed to go to some far-flung land and conquer it and take it and prove he's the king. But the peasants, oh, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. You're a loser then. You're a dummy. I absolutely and utterly, completely have everything to prove to everybody all of the time. That's who I am. I will prove anything to anybody. If I sit and say X, I will prove it.
Happiness is the number one thing that must be earned. And I'll tell you that my happiness is based on very real world achievements. I couldn't be happy if I was broke. I couldn't be happy if I was obese. I couldn't be happy if I was lonely. I couldn't be happy if I wasn't respected. I couldn't be happy if I couldn't whoop a dude's ass. I couldn't be happy in those scenarios. So I made sure none of them scenarios came true. I have earned my happiness via hard work. It's the top of a mountain, which I have climbed. I deserve it. I deserve to go to sleep with a smile on my face. Yes, that's what I can deserve. And every single guy who hasn't got it probably doesn't deserve it. The universe is very giving and very fair. People seem to think that the world is unfair, and those are all the same people who tell themselves they're unlucky. I actually believe the opposite. I believe the universe is a very giving place. I believe God is a very giving being, and that the world, all in all, generally balances out and is pretty fair. If you're the kind of person who deserves a good life and works their ass off and genuinely wants it and tries very hard, guess what you get 99% of the time? A good life. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't really deserve it, slacks 3 days a week, a little bit lazy, snakes his friends, talks behind people's back, blah, 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 guess what? Your life ain't all that good. The universe is pretty fair and pretty balanced. I've yet to meet somebody who gets up every day, does what they're supposed to do, works hard, goes to the gym, then goes to work, does their best, makes their money, looks after it, is sensible, doesn't blow it, etc., who then fails. I've never met anybody who fails when they do all the right things. The universe is a very fair and giving place, all in all. There are very few exceptions to that. So when I see somebody who doesn't have the success they want, especially when I see, let's say, a group of people who don't have the success they want, there's no way you're all exceptions to that rule. You may want something, but you certainly don't deserve it, and that's why you don't have it. You shouldn't wake up and say, how happy am I today? How does that affect how I act? That's not how I operate. I wake up and say, what must be done? What will allow me to be proud of myself? What will allow me to achieve? And those things will be done regardless of how I feel. And that's how the most successful people on earth all operate. The most successful people on earth don't only do things because they feel happy about doing them. If you never make a mark on the world, then you effectively never existed. And when you're gone, nobody will care. And that's very important because you have a duty to your ancestors and you have a duty to God. So you must make a choice. And this is a genuine choice to you people at home. Do you want to live in obscurity forever and be invisible and not matter and have an easier life? I would argue that it's not easier because in your heart and in your soul, you're going to feel guilty knowing you could have been something you're not. Or do you want to try your absolute best and struggle and suffer every day of your life, paying the rent for all of the amazing things around you? We pay endless rent. We pay rent for our bodies. We pay rent for our relationships. We pay rent to keep our kids. We pay rent to keep our business. We pay rent to keep our freedom. Every single day is work to pay the rent. It's absolutely never ending. And you have to make that choice. So if you have a pen and paper in front of you, you need to decide, do you want to be invisible with a lower rent bill? Or do you want to be important and work hard and suffer to make sure that the rent is paid? It's a choice you must make, and it's binary, and you must be extremely dedicated towards the decision you finally make. I refuse to accept that there are people out there who cannot become happy, contented individuals. I refuse to accept we live in a world where God has created people who, no matter how hard they work and how good their life becomes, can't be happy. I don't accept that. I accept that the universe is a very giving place and that God loves all of us. And if you try your best and you work hard, you can become a better person. The beauty of life as a man is to be great. So you have to sit here and ask yourself, do you want to be a happy loser that's insignificant? Nobody knows you exist. Women don't respect you. Men don't respect you. Nobody cares if you live or die, but you get to smile all the time. Or do you want to be one of the most important people on the planet with a little bit of stress? Alternatively, you can go out there into the world, try and implement your mark on the world, work hard, try to get rich, more money, more problems. You can try and start a business, the stress of that. You can lose your girlfriend because all you're doing is working. This is a new level of stress, a new level of trauma, but at least you'll be a somebody at the end of it. As a man, there is no easy life. Your life is not about being easy. Your life is not about being happy. Your life is always going to be difficult. All of the pain you feel, all of the sadness you feel, you're supposed to feel as a man, and you have two effective binary choices. You either go through the suffering and go through the trauma and go through the hardship it takes to be a man of value, or you suffer eternity as a nobody. There's two ways to suffer. You either suffer as becoming a somebody, or you suffer as a perpetual and forever nobody.